above the timberline, where the jagged granite spine of the mountain pierces the frozen sky, the alpine world remains locked in a bitter sub-zero embrace. Gales sweep across the exposed ridgeline, driving diamond dust crystals of snow horizontally against ancient rocks. It is an unforgiving ecosystem, engineered for survivalists, where the wind howls a ceaseless, mournful song to the emptiness. Yet, buried deep beneath a thick, anchoring snowpack sheltered by a rocky outcrop, an entirely different reality unfolds. Here, beneath layers of wind-packed crystalline insulation, lies a subterranean sanctuary. This maternity den, meticulously excavated in the autumn earth and now capped by meters of winter snow, functions as a thermal marvel of seasonal adaptation. Inside this dark, protected cavity, the temperature hovers just above freezing, warmed entirely by the geothermal heat of the earth and the physiology of its inhabitants. The violent fury of the storm above is reduced to a mere suggestion, a faint, muffled sigh vibrating softly through the dense snow walls, accompanied by the occasional settling of distant ice crystals. Within this velvet black womb of ice and earth, a female Wolverine rests in supreme stillness. Weighing around 30 pounds, her muscular, low-slung body is wrapped around a fragile, microscopic new life. She has given birth to a single, helpless kit, no larger than a clenched fist and covered in a fine, frosted white down. In this quiet refuge, safe from the freezing gales, the newborn experiences its first moments of existence, relying unconditionally on the radiating warmth of its mother's broad chest. Weighing a mere 4 ounces at birth, the tiny Wolverine kit is a marvel of mammalian vulnerability. Its minuscule body is remarkably undeveloped, possessing neither the formidable muscle mass nor the dense, oily guard hairs that will one day define its species as a relentless apex scavenger of the high north. Instead, a sparse, pale coat covers its fragile frame, offering little defense against the cold. Its eyes remain tightly sealed shut, and delicate, paper-thin ears are folded flat against a rounded skull. Lacking the capacity for endothermic self-regulation, the newborn relies completely on the shared physiology of its mother. Its motor skills are limited to clumsy, lateral rooting movements and a faint, trembling crawl. Whenever the mother shifts her weight, the kit instinctively follows the thermal gradient, nuzzling blindly against her thick, warm belly in search of nourishment. Nature has engineered this altricial state deliberately. Because the female Wolverine invests immense metabolic energy into reproduction within one of the planet's harshest ecosystems, her milk is exceptionally rich in fats and proteins, fueling rapid cellular growth. Yet, for now, the kit's world consists entirely of tactile sensations, the steady, rhythmic rise and fall of maternal breathing, the comforting rumble of a low heartbeat echoing through the den, and the rich, musk-scented safety of fur. It is a peaceful, motionless existence, suspended in the gentle dark, sustained by pure maternal devotion. In the absolute stillness of the subterranean chamber, the mother Wolverine curves her powerful, muscular frame into a protective crescent. She draws the fragile, 4-ounce newborn completely into the shielded pocket beneath her abdomen. This close embrace provides essential thermal regulation for the kit, whose immature metabolic system cannot yet generate enough internal heat to survive the sub-zero alpine temperatures just feet away. Pressing her thick, silver-tipped fur against the pup's vulnerable skin, she creates a warm, stable microclimate insulated from the biting frost of the mountain slope. Gentle maternal care unfolds slowly in the quiet darkness. The mother dips her broad head, her warm tongue sweeping rhythmically over the kit in tender, methodical strokes. This tactile grooming does more than clean. It stimulates circulation, encourages digestion, and reinforces the vital chemical scent bond between them. As the tiny kit settles deeper into the plush underfur, it finds the source of life, thick energy-dense milk rich with the specialized fats required for rapid growth in a harsh ecosystem. Sustained by this rich nourishment, the infant nurses peacefully, its rhythmic swallowing the only sound breaking the subterranean quiet. Outside the snow ceiling, the wind continues its steady sigh across the rocks. But within this cozy cradle of fur and flesh, all is calm. The mother rests her heavy chin upon her paws, her steady breathing rocking the resting kit in a slow, soothing cadence. Guarding her precious offspring with absolute devotion, she shares her own immense vitality, holding the cold at bay until the dawn begins to filter through the snowpack. Far above the hidden nursery, a high-altitude breeze sweeps across the frozen ridges of the alpine spine. Yet down within the subterranean fortress of compacted snow, that fierce gale is reduced to nothing more than a faint, muted murmur, a soft, rushing sigh that presses gently against the thick white ceiling overhead. The deep layers of snow act as an acoustic blanket, absorbing the harshness of the mountain weather and leaving the interior wrapped in a profound, velvety quiet. Blending seamlessly with this muffled whisper of wind are the subtle, ambient sounds of the den. Every so often, a tiny shift of packed ice settles inches away from the chamber wall, accompanied by the faint, dry scrape of a crystal sliding against its neighbor. These delicate textures of sound wash over the den without disturbing the peace. At the center of it all lies the steady, rhythmic breathing of the mother Wolverine. Her respiration is slow and deep, filling the chamber with a predictable, grounding cadence. As her broad chest rises and falls, it gently rocks the tiny kit nestled against her belly, creating a natural metronome of safety and warmth. The infant's own breathing is lighter, a rapid little hum of life echoing softly against the maternal fur. Together, these paired heartbeats and matching breaths form a continuous, soothing lullaby. In this dark, insulated haven carved from winter's remnants, time slows to the measured pace of the resting earth, holding the chill of the outside world completely at bay. Deep within the frozen labyrinth, far beneath the high rocky outcrops where wind-scoured granite meets the sky, a subtle transformation begins to take shape. Even in total darkness, nature's internal clock marks the passage from deep night toward the fragile boundary of dawn. Barometric pressure shifts ever so slightly within the dense, multi-layered snowpack, a microscopic change in the air trapped between interlocking ice crystals. The temperature of the subterranean air, usually stabilized near the freezing point by the insulating properties of snow, registers the faintest whisper of dawn's approach. As atmospheric conditions adjust high above the timberline, tiny currents of air migrate through the porous snow walls. This gentle gas exchange replaces the stale midnight air with a fresher, crisper draft that carries the distant scent of exposed alpine stone and the cold ozone of high-altitude peaks. For the resting mother, these imperceptible environmental cues act as a biological trigger. Her dense, hydrophobic guard hairs and the thick underfur that protected her through the harshest winter months begin to sense the transition in ambient chill. Her metabolism, finely tuned to the rigorous demands of reproductive success in a punishing biome, subtly shifts gears. The physiological quietude of deep sleep gives way to a low-level physiological alertness, preparing her robust muscles and acute senses for the impending departure from the sanctuary of the natal den. Yet, for now, she remains completely still, absorbing the final moments of absolute calm before the morning light claims the mountain. Slowly, with deliberate and measured grace, the mother Wolverine stirs from her resting posture. She curves her muscular frame away from the warm bundle of the newborn kit, minimizing any sudden loss of heat while freeing herself from the cradle of her own body. Her movements are fluid, governed by an ancient instinctual rhythm that prioritizes the absolute safety of her offspring. With a soft, barely audible sigh, she stretches her powerful forelegs, flexing compact paws equipped with semi-retractable claws designed for navigating both deep powder and hard-packed ice. Before venturing outward, she pauses at the threshold of the secondary tunnel leading toward the surface. Lifting her broad, heavily furred snout toward the faint draft filtering down from the upper snowpack, she inhales deeply. Her highly developed nasal mucosa processes the microscopic scent particles carried on the incoming morning air. She samples the atmospheric pressure and temperature gradients, reading the chemical signatures of the wider alpine ecosystem to assess weather stability and the presence of potential hazards across the ridge above. Satisfied by the sensory data, she turns back toward the nest one last time. With gentle, meticulous sweeps of her tongue, she grooms the sleeping kit, ensuring its fine, silvery brown natal coat remains dry and properly aligned for optimal thermal regulation. The kit stirs momentarily against the residual warmth of the den floor, emitting a tiny, high-pitched vocalization before settling back into a deep, restorative sleep. The mother then pads silently down the frost-lined corridor, pressing her low-slung body against the snow walls as she approaches the narrow exit. The faint, pearlescent glow of approaching dawn catches the tips of her guard hairs, illuminating her path toward the frozen world outside. High above the timberline, where the jagged peaks of the high alpine ridge pierce the pale morning sky, a slow transformation is underway. Night's deep indigo shadow begins to lift from the high snowfields, chased away by the very first amber tendrils of dawn. There is a profound, cathedral-like stillness in this thin mountain air, broken only by the soft, whispered sigh of a gentle wind gliding across the frozen crust. As the sun edges over the horizon, its low-angle rays wash over the drifts in brilliant strokes of gold and rose. This light carries a subtle, vital warmth, slowly releasing the frost that has gripped the rocky talus slopes since the depths of winter. In these high altitudes, every temperature shift is an ecological event. The snowpack, compressed by months of heavy blizzards, begins to settle, responding to the dawn with a delicate, nearly imperceptible sigh. Farther down the slope, the ambient, liquid music of a flowing stream awakens beneath its icy roof, a subterranean murmur signaling the seasonal shift toward spring. For the resident wildlife, this boundary between night and morning is a delicate threshold. The frost-laced air carries crisp, clean notes of ozone and distant pine, scents sharpened by the freezing night temperatures. Yet, beneath the stillness, the mountain is gently stirring. Microscopic algae blooms dormant in the snowfield drink in the early light, blushing the drifts in faint crimson, while far overhead, the solitary call of a high-flying bird echoes across the frozen expanse. The world up here is vast, quiet, and waiting. Deep within the subterranean sanctuary, sheltered beneath a thick ceiling of wind-packed snow, the ambient temperature rises ever so slightly. Here, protected from the biting alpine elements, a mother Wolverine stirs. Her muscular frame, built with the dense, cold-resistant fur of a true high-altitude survivor, shifts to nudge her rapidly growing kit. With patient, deliberate motions of her broad snout, she coos softly, a low, rumbling vocalization that vibrates gently through the dark, earthen chamber. She turns toward the narrow tunnel leading outward, her heavy claws brushing against the packed walls as she inches forward. The kit, its small body covered in a dense layer of pale, insulating down, hesitates at first. Its developing nervous system processes the shifting air currents, registering a complex tapestry of unfamiliar odors drifting in from the exterior. Guided by maternal instinct and scent, the mother pauses, looking back to offer an encouraging headbutt, urging the hesitant little one toward the mouth of the den. With cautious, clumsy movements, the kit creeps forward, paws pressing into the damp soil of the threshold. Ahead, a great triangle of brilliant, golden light spills inward, cutting sharply through the cool shadows. This is the exterior world, vast and blindingly bright compared to the comforting dark of the nursery. The kit blinks against the sudden glare, its dark button eyes adjusting to the sunlit expanse of snow and jagged talus that stretches infinitely beyond the safety of the maternal shadow. Out on the sun-kissed threshold, the young Wolverine freezes, overwhelmed by an invisible symphony drifting on the gentle wind. Its tiny, rounded ears twitch independently, swiveling to catch the strange acoustics of the open alpine world. Sound travels differently here, unobstructed by dense forest canopy or subterranean walls. Faintly, a distant pipit sings its high, clear morning greeting, while closer at hand, the low, melodic burble of a flowing stream rises from beneath the snowpack, its hidden waters carving through winter's icy grip. With every breath, the kit's delicate nose, crammed with millions of specialized olfactory receptors, dances with novel molecules. It inhales the sharp, clean bite of fresh mountain ozone, born from the upper atmosphere and the crisp dawn air. Mingled with this electric freshness is the damp, mineral-rich fragrance of melting snow and exposed rock, carrying earthy undertones of wet talus. Faintly, riding the morning breeze from far down the slope, comes the rich, balsamic scent of distant pine trees, a heavy aroma entirely foreign to the nursery's sheltered depths. These unprecedented sensory inputs stimulate the kit's rapidly wiring nervous system. Its brain maps the coordinates of the wider ecosystem through scent and sound alone, learning to distinguish the constant whisper of the breeze from the sudden rustle of distant, unseen phenomena. The mother remains a steady, reassuring anchor beside the trembling little one. She exhales a warm, familiar breath that blankets the kit, offering a grounding anchor amidst the sensory overload of the waking mountain. Safe within her protective aura, the kit relaxes its tense muscles, closing its eyes for a fleeting moment to simply absorb the rich, breathing tapestry of the high spring world. Around them, the high alpine landscape begins to speak in a softer tongue. The deep freeze of winter yields to the sun's steady climb, releasing a chorus of water across the talus slopes. Beneath the heavy, crystalline snowpack, a subterranean network of 1,000 tiny rivulets joins together, creating the gentle, rhythmic trickling of snowmelt that winds its way downward through the jumbled piles of ancient rocks. This flowing stream acts as the lifeblood of the awakening ecosystem, whispering of renewal and the slow retreat of ice. As the morning temperature rises even a fraction of a degree, the snowpack itself undergoes a silent transformation. Millions of interlocking ice crystals shift and settle with microscopic sighs, releasing soft, muted groans through the crust as the surface tension eases under the golden light. This gentle settling of snow sends subtle vibrations through the ground, pulses that travel up through the kit's sensitive paws and ground its rapidly expanding awareness in the physical mechanics of the thaw. The rustling leaves of hardy alpine willows, still mostly trapped beneath translucent panes of old ice, occasionally flutter when a vagrant gust of the gentle wind sweeps across the ridge. Above these terrestrial murmurs, a stray feather of late-season snowfall dances downward from a high, sunlit cliff edge, whispering as it drifts past before melting into mist long before it touches the ground. The mother Wolverine remains perfectly still, her dense, multi-layered fur absorbing the morning chill while her ears twitch in rhythm with the water's song. She rests her heavy chin near the snow, anchoring the kit within this fluid, breathing sanctuary of sound. At the lip of the threshold, the world opens infinitely wide. The growing kit shifts its weight forward, lifting a tiny, rounded frame out from the shadows and onto the sun-crusted surface of the snow. Downward glances reveal paws that seem disproportionately large for the rest of its body, nature's ancient blueprint for survival in the deep winter realms. These oversized paws, already equipped with broad pads and strong, semi-retractable claws, act as natural snowshoes, distributing the kit's weight across the fragile, frozen crust instead of plunging deep into the powder below. Even so, the early motor skills remain delightfully uncoordinated. The kit takes a hesitant, wobbly step, the left hind leg lagging slightly behind the right as it navigates the glittering terrain. Every muscle fiber is learning to adapt to the open air, contracting with tentative precision. The sun-warmed snow offers a firm yet yielding texture, collapsing just a fraction of a millimeter beneath the broad soles with a soft, satisfying crunch. As the kit wobbles forward, the large paws splay wide to catch its balance, naturally demonstrating the evolutionary design that will one day allow adult wolverines to travel effortlessly across miles of unstable alpine snowfields. The mother watches closely, her massive frame a steadfast mountain of patience. She offers a gentle nudge with her warm muzzle whenever a clumsy turn threatens to tilt the kit off balance, gently guiding the small explorer back to stability. With each slow, deliberate motion, the delicate balance between awkward infancy and resilient wilderness strength begins to take root in the sunlit frost. High above the timberline, the morning sun climbs higher, casting warmth across the glistening alpine crust and signaling the end of this first great outdoor adventure. The small kit's heavy eyes begin to droop, eyelids growing pleasantly sleepy under the gentle weight of fatigue. Every tiny muscle, from the broad snowshoe paws to the tips of the shoulders, has worked harder than ever before, absorbing an entire world of new textures, sights, and aromas. Sensing the shift in her little one's energy, the mother wolverine lowers her broad head close to the snow. With infinite tenderness, she wraps her warm muzzle gently around the scruff of the kit's neck. Her powerful jaws, built for crushing frozen bone and tearing through dense alpine hides, exercise remarkable restraint as she lifts the heavy, relaxed body with feather-light precision. She turns slowly toward the shadowy threshold of the subterranean den. The ambient symphony of trickling snowmelt and distant birdsong softly fades behind them as they leave the bright ridge. Ducking beneath the heavy granite overhang, the mother carries her precious cargo downward into the cool, protective sanctuary of the deep earth. Here, shielded from the expanding day and cradled within the insulating walls of packed snow and stone, the air is still and safe. She curls her large and muscular frame completely around the resting kit, enveloping the small body in a deep, restorative pocket of maternal warmth. Safe within the subterranean dark, the little wolverine surrenders to profound sleep, its tiny chest rising and falling in slow, rhythmic harmony with the quiet mountain world outside. Deep within the shadowed embrace of the subalpine spruce forest, the winter's heavy grip finally begins to loosen. From the dark mouth of the natal snow den, a small, intrepid shape emerges. The wolverine kit, possessing a thick coat of pale, woolly fur and a burgeoning curiosity, takes its very first sustained steps beyond the familiar frost-rimmed tunnels of its birthplace. As the active youngster crosses this snowy threshold, the landscape transforms. The bright afternoon sun filters through the ancient evergreens, casting long, lazy beams across patches of dark, damp earth and fragrant pine needles that have only just been liberated from the melting drifts. Every surface drips with the slow, rhythmic music of seasonal renewal, as crystal droplets detach from heavy boughs and tap softly against the recovering forest floor. The air is alive with the gentle rustle of a warm breeze and the distant, melodic calls of returning migratory birds. Beneath the softening snowpack, a subtle awakening stirs the ecosystem. Awakening insects begin to hum in the warming air, adding their low vibrations to the soothing backdrop of a rushing snowmelt stream tumbling over polished stones nearby. With oversized paws designed for future survival across vast snowy expanses, the young wolverine pauses. It stretches out a tiny claw, pressing it down into the damp, spring soil for the very first time. The cool mud offers a novel sensation, vastly different from the uniform chill of packed winter ice. A few yards away, The mother Wolverine pauses her gentle foraging, her dark eyes keeping a steady, protective watch over her offspring as it investigates a fallen branch. Bathed in the golden amber light of the late afternoon, the kit breathes in the rich, earthy aromas of the thawing mountain wilderness, resting its weight against the awakening earth. Those oversized paws, which seem almost too large for the small, woolly body, are a marvel of evolutionary design. Each broad foot is equipped with heavily furred soles and specialized pads that will one day distribute the animal's weight across deep, powdery snowdrifts like natural snowshoes. Right now, however, those same anatomical tools serve a delicate, exploratory purpose on the newly unveiled ground. The kit lifts a front paw, spreading tiny, curved claws before pressing them down into a thick cushion of wet, emerald moss. The texture is springy and cool, yielding gently beneath the pressure. With each hesitant step, the young Wolverine encounters a mosaic of unfamiliar surfaces. It treads across coarse, decaying wood of a fallen log, feeling the rough grain against its sensitive toe pads, and brushes past damp soil rich with the scent of decomposition and new life. These tactile experiences are vital for motor skill development, sending a cascade of sensory signals to the kit's growing brain. The muscles in its shoulders and legs flex and strain as it works to maintain balance on the uneven, slippery terrain. Every clumsy stumble and deliberate recovery helps calibrate its coordination, strengthening the ligaments and bones for the rigorous life ahead. A few feet away, the mother watches with quiet, unwavering patience, her broad head occasionally lifting to sample the breeze. The afternoon sun warms the thick fur along the kit's back, creating a gentle contrast to the cool mud clinging softly to its toes. Absorbed in the infinite wonders of the forest floor, the young animal continues its slow, steady journey of discovery, perfectly cradled in the tranquil, awakening embrace of the mountain spring. Further down the gentle slope, the air grows cool and damp as the kit approaches the boundary where the subalpine spruce forest meets a swollen, rushing mountain stream, fed by the relentless melt of high-altitude snowfields. The icy water surges over polished river stones, creating a steady, hypnotic roar that echoes through the trees. Overhead, the golden light of the late afternoon filters through the evergreen canopy, casting long, peaceful shadows across the frothing banks. Droplets of melting ice drip rhythmically from the lower branches, splashing into the puddles below with soft, musical ticks. This steady symphony of moving water and dripping snow creates a deeply calming, natural lullaby. The kit pauses at the water's edge, its small body vibrating with the low-frequency rumble of the current beneath the stones. The breeze carries a chill mist, sweeping the heavy scent of wet earth and thawing moss across the young animal's wet nose. Reflexive whisker twitches register the subtle changes in air currents swirling off the surface of the stream. For a moment, the kit sits entirely still upon a smooth boulder, letting the endless, rushing cadence wash over its senses. The heavy thermal coat, designed to insulate against brutal alpine winters, now radiates the warmth of the sun-baked afternoon, contrasting softly with the brisk, refreshing humidity rising from the water. With heavy eyelids and a relaxed posture, the young Wolverine tucks its oversized paws beneath its chest, resting close to the rushing tide. The gentle motion of the stream lulls the kit into a profound stillness, a peaceful pause in the heart of the awakening mountain wilderness. Just a short distance away, half concealed by the low-hanging boughs of a moss-draped spruce, the mother Wolverine stands as a steadfast, silent sentinel. Her powerful, compact frame, built with dense muscle and broad paws designed to distribute weight across melting spring crusts, remains perfectly still. Though she grants her adventurous offspring the vital independence needed to test its growing coordination and spatial awareness, her acute senses never truly rest. Her dark, rounded ears swivel independently, filtering the background hum of the rushing stream to catch the faint, high-pitched squeak of a vole beneath the litter, or the subtle rustle of a passing jay. With a keen sense of smell heightened by the damp, warming air, she samples the mountain breeze for any hint of distant predators or shifting weather. Every few moments, her dark eyes flick toward the resting kit by the water's edge, confirming its safety without intruding upon its peaceful discovery. This quiet, watchful presence is an essential pillar of parenting in the high country, where survival relies on a delicate balance between maternal protection and autonomous learning. As the golden sunlight dips lower behind the jagged ridge, casting a deep indigo shadow over the forest floor, the mother takes a slow, deliberate step closer, positioning herself like a living anchor between the wild, waking valley and her sleeping young. As the golden afternoon sun dips lower, its lingering warmth finally reaches deep into the sheltered hollows of the subalpine forest. This gentle heat works a quiet alchemy upon the earth, releasing the rich, grounding aroma of damp soil, melting snow, and sweet pine resin into the still air. Across the clearing, winter's icy grip surrenders to the awakening season, coaxing countless tiny lives from their long, cold slumber beneath the duff. Drawn by a sudden flurry of movement, the young Wolverine tilts its broad head, dark eyes locking onto a cluster of awakening insects. A swarm of tiny winged gnats dances just above the damp needles, their delicate wings catching the amber light in a shimmering haze. With a clumsy, eager bound, the kit hops forward, testing its coordination on the uneven ground. It swats clumsily at the empty air, its oversized paws endowed with impressive claws that are already beginning to curve with formidable strength, striking only soft moss. Nearby, a beetle emerges from beneath a rotting log, its iridescent carapace glistening as it navigates a labyrinth of fallen pine twigs. The kit crouches low, pressing its belly close to the cool earth, mimicking the stealthy posture of an adult predator. Its whiskers twitch rhythmically, mapping the micro-vibrations of the forest floor through highly sensitive tactile hairs. Every sound is magnified in this tranquil space. The steady drip of melting snow sliding from evergreen branches, the lazy hum of revived beetles, and the distant, soothing rush of the glacial stream. Immersed in this tapestry of buzzing life and sensory wonders, the young animal feels the vibrant pulse of the changing mountain ecosystem breathing all around it. Fatigued by hours of discovery, the young Wolverine's movements slow, and a heavy, natural weariness begins to settle into its small limbs. The sprawling, oversized paws that carried it so bravely across the forest floor now feel delightfully cumbersome. With a soft, contented sigh that stirs the fallen needles, the kit turns away from the bustling insect world and ambles toward the sheltering base of a grand, ancient spruce tree. Nestled between the massive, moss-draped roots, a quiet alcove offers a safe and secluded haven. The earth here is soft, pillowed by a thick mattress of old pine duff that still retains the faint, comforting warmth of the afternoon sun. Carefully, the kit circles twice, pressing its small body down into the fragrant mulch. It tucks its rounded snout beneath its plump belly, wrapping its bushy, pale-tipped tail around its nose to preserve its body heat as the mountain air begins to cool. Above, the evergreen boughs sway in a gentle, rhythmic lullaby, filtering the amber light into soft, shifting patterns across the rust-brown fur of its back. The steady, low-frequency roar of the rushing snowmelt stream blends seamlessly with the fading birdsong and the final, sleepy drip of melting snow from the canopy high overhead. Surrounded by the timeless embrace of the subalpine forest, the little Wolverine drifts into a deep, restorative sleep. Its chest rises and falls in slow, even rhythms, perfectly synchronized with the quiet, awakening pulse of the wild valley resting all around it. As the northern sun dips low behind the rugged peaks, a gentle purple hue washes over the northern landscape. The late afternoon light surrenders slowly to the quiet approach of dusk, filtering through the pale, paper-white bark of the deciduous birch groves. High in the canopy, the daytime chatter of migratory thrushes fades into a peaceful hush, leaving behind only the soft whisper of a gentle wind weaving through budding branches. Stepping cautiously across the damp, spring-softened forest floor, the growing Wolverine juvenile ventures beyond the immediate periphery of the natal den. This is a time of sensory awakening. The young carnivore places its paws carefully upon a rich mosaic of russet leaf litter and lingering, crystalline patches of seasonal snowmelt. Each step is an exercise in balance and developing coordination, the compact paws testing the yielding textures of the awakening earth. Cooling evening air drifts down from the rocky outcrops above, carrying a tapestry of subtle scents, the sharp tang of birch sap, the damp richness of thawing soil, and the distant, reassuring musk of the mother who moves just ahead. With acute hearing and widening eyes adjusted to the dimming illumination, the juvenile absorbs the changing world. The forest floor becomes a canvas of long, drifting shadows and muted silver light. Every rustle of the dry leaves underfoot sounds magnified in the stillness, tuning the young animal's instincts to the rhythms of the wild. There is no rush here. Time slows as the shadows lengthen, and the quiet sanctuary of the grove embraces the traveler in an atmosphere of deep, restful calm. Ahead on the darkening forest floor, the adult female Wolverine moves with purposeful, rhythmic grace. Her heavy, two-layered coat, composed of a dense, insulating underfur and long, water-repellent guard hairs, blends seamlessly with the deepening shadows of the birch trunks. Every movement is calculated and efficient, optimized for energy conservation in a rugged northern biome where every calorie counts. Her low-slung, muscular frame navigates the complex terrain of exposed roots and granite boulders with effortless fluidity. As she patrols the grove, her exceptionally acute sense of smell takes precedence over all other senses. The specialized olfactory lobes in her brain analyze the rich, multi-layered aromas rising from beneath the damp earth, filtering out the background scent of birch sap and melting snow to isolate older, hidden signatures. She pauses beside a moss-covered hummock, her powerful snout hovering just above the leaf litter. This precise sensory scanning is a masterclass in spatial memory and foraging efficiency. Wolverines are legendary scavengers and opportunistic hunters, frequently caching surplus food during times of plenty to retrieve during leaner seasonal transitions. Utilizing her broad, semi-plantigrade paws equipped with non-retractile claws, she begins to methodically test the soil consistency, her powerful shoulder muscles rippling beneath her dark fur. The juvenile watches every subtle shift in her posture, absorbing the ancient knowledge of survival passed down through quiet observation. With a sudden, decisive sweep of her forelimb, the mother heaves away the sodden layer of decaying autumn leaves. Her semi-plantigrade paws, built broad to distribute weight across soft spring substrates, act like natural shovels, carving efficiently into the damp, dark humus. Beneath the organic debris lies a carefully preserved cache, surplus fat and protein secured weeks prior. Her non-plantigrade adaptations and remarkable claw strength allow her to breach frozen soil and tightly packed root matrices with astonishing ease, a testament to the evolutionary marvel of the mustelid family. A few paces back, the juvenile stands completely still, anchoring its developing muscular coordination through sheer, unblinking focus. Every twitch of the mother's rounded ears, every shift of her powerful jaw as she breaks through the superficial layer of frost, is committed to memory. This is foundational developmental learning in real time. The young Wolverine's wide, dark eyes track the fluid motion of the older animal unearthing the prize, internalizing the spatial geometry of cache retrieval. The mother uses her formidable carnassial teeth, specialized for shearing tough tissue, to uncover the preserved bounty. She pauses just long enough to let the kit step closer, allowing the younger animal to breathe in the distinct sensory profile of the hidden meal. A gentle breeze whispers through the pale birch branches above, carrying the rich, earthy aromas of thawed soil and old snowmelt across the clearing. The forest around them seems to hold its collective breath, honoring the ancient, quiet ritual of sustenance shared between generations under the fading violet sky. Stepping forward on tentative paws, the juvenile approaches the newly opened hollow in the earth. It lowers its dark, velvet-furred muzzle to the damp soil, closing its eyes to eliminate visual distractions and sharpen its sensory acuity. Olfactory learning is paramount for a young mustelid navigating the boreal mosaic. Within the nasal cavity, millions of specialized receptor cells map the complex chemical signature of the cache site. The kit inhales deeply, cataloging the rich mingling of decayed leaf litter, dormant forest fungi, and the faint, lingering trace of fat and protein. With delicate precision, the young Wolverine mimics the maternal posture. It shifts its weight backward onto its heels, lowers its chest toward the ground, and uses its own small, developing forepaws to scrape gently at the edge of the disturbed humus. This tactile feedback, the cool grit of sand, the spongy resistance of rootlets, the damp texture of thawed organic matter, stimulates neurological pathways crucial for future motor coordination. The juvenile is not merely playing in the dirt. Its developing brain is actively processing the physical variables of subterranean excavation. The mother watches with a calm, watchful eye, offering quiet encouragement through her stillness. She does not rush the process, allowing the juvenile to explore the sensory landscape at its own measured pace. Every nudge of the nose and every experimental sweep of a small paw reinforces the hardwired instincts inherited over generations. As the violet shadows stretch longer across the silver birch trunks, this silent apprenticeship lays the vital groundwork for survival. The forest floor becomes a living classroom, teaching the young scavenger how to read the hidden stories written beneath the winter snows. High above the silver-barked trunks, the vibrant colors of sunset begin to soften into deep, indigo velvet. The cooling evening air drifts down from the rocky ridges, bringing a profound stillness to the birch canopy. The day-active thrushes and jays gradually cease their territorial calls, settling onto hidden branches to tuck their heads beneath warm feathers. One by one, the restless voices of the daytime forest fade away, replaced by the quiet, meditative breathing of the maturing ecosystem. Woven through this gathering hush is a steady, soothing auditory backdrop. Nearby, hidden beneath patches of lingering winter ice, the trickling snowmelt chatters softly over smooth stones. Water finds its slow, persistent path toward the valley floor, creating a rhythmic, liquid lullaby that resonates through the damp soil. This gentle aquatic murmur blends seamlessly with the faint sigh of evening breezes whispering through the awakening catkins, washing away the lingering tensions of the day. The environment slows its pulse. Shadows lengthen, stretching long and dark across the leaf-strewn ground, blurring the boundaries between the forest floor and the ancient roots. The heavy scent of thawing earth and damp moss rises in the cool air, settling close to the ground where the two mustelids rest. Nature takes a deep, collective breath, wrapping the birch grove in a blanket of absolute peace, preparing the weary woodland for the quiet embrace of the coming night. Amidst this gathering tranquility, the young Wolverine feels the familiar, heavy pull of fatigue settling into its growing muscles. Guided by an innate sense of security, it moves toward the massive, moss-draped base of an ancient birch tree whose exposed roots plunge deep into the rocky earth. Here, sheltered from the open expanse of the grove, lies a natural cavern, a secure root cavity worn smooth by decades of shifting soil and passing seasons. The juvenile crawls inside the snug alcove, testing the dimensions of the refuge with gentle, inquisitive nudges of its wet nose. This careful selection of a temporary rest site is a vital survival behavior, offering thermal insulation and protection from nocturnal predators under the starlit sky. The mother lingers just outside the entrance for a brief moment, her watchful dark eyes scanning the tree line before curling her own sturdy frame right beside her offspring. Inside the shadowed hollow, the young Wolverine begins to settle. It tucks its broad nose firmly against its belly, wrapping its thick, bushy tail completely around its compact body to preserve precious warmth against the chill of the spring night. With a soft, contented sigh that stirs the dry particles of fragrant pine needles beneath its paws, the kit relaxes every muscle. Above the birch canopy, the first brilliant stars emerge like tiny diamonds pinned to the velvet expanse of the darkening sky. The steady, rhythmic dripping of distant snowmelt slows to an occasional, soothing plop, blending with the slow, deep breathing of the resting mustelids. Safe within the subterranean embrace of the ancient roots, the juvenile drifts deeply into peaceful slumber, cradled by the profound, restorative quiet of the northern forest. High above the sprawling northern taiga, a million diamond stars punch through the velvety midnight canopy, casting a cool, silvery luminescence over the endless sea of conifers. Down on the forest floor, the air is crisp, carrying the clean, sharp fragrance of frozen sap and ancient earth. From beneath the heavy boughs of a towering spruce, a young Wolverine steps quietly into the open. At this independent stage of life, every nocturnal excursion is an exercise in survival and sensory discovery. The juvenile pauses, its muscular shoulders low to the ground, allowing its senses to immediately tune into the quiet frequency of the night. A gentle wind drifts through the upper branches, making the pine needles whisper like distant water. The ambient soundscape is vast and peaceful, occasionally punctured by the low, resonant hoot of a great horned owl echoing across the quiet valley below. This auditory landmark anchors the young animal in the vast wilderness, providing a familiar bearing in the dark. The forest floor is a complex mosaic of shadows and deep snow pockets melting into damp moss. With deliberate, fluid efficiency, the juvenile places each heavy-pawed footfall upon the needle-strewn carpet, making barely a sound. Its keen eyes adjust to the starlight, catching the subtle play of shadows between fallen logs, while its internal clock urges it forward into the expansive territory. Here, beneath the eternal watch of the constellations, the night unfolds slowly, inviting the young carnivore deeper into the tranquil heart of the northern woods. The young Wolverine lifts its dark muzzle, drawing in the invisible tapestry of the night air. In the boreal forest, the most important stories are written not in tracks upon the snow, but in complex chemical signatures left upon the landscape. The animal's olfactory system is a marvel of biological engineering. Specialized turbinate bones inside its nasal cavity create a vast surface area lined with millions of sensory receptors, allowing it to parse the layered odors of the taiga with breathtaking precision. Approaching a rough-barked pine trunk, the juvenile pauses. It detects a faint, musky secretion left hours earlier by a neighboring adult resident. To the uninitiated, it is merely an odor. To the young carnivore, it is a detailed ledger. By inhaling deeply, the Wolverine reads the invisible script. The scent reveals age, gender, and reproductive status, mapping the invisible boundaries of home ranges that stretch across miles of rugged wilderness. It is a silent social map of the northern woods, constantly updated by the inhabitants who roam beneath the starlight. The juvenile processes this information with calm curiosity rather than alarm, absorbing the boundaries of the neighborhood. A second, older scent trail intersects the first, the lingering trace of a passing lynx, mingling with the rich, earthy tang of decaying cedar beneath the moss. The Wolverine's nose flickers, cataloging every nuance of the ambient chemistry. Each scent marker acts as an anchor in the vast expanse, guiding the solitary traveler safely through the shifting social terrain of the sleeping forest. Moving with low, deliberate strides, the young Wolverine transitions from reading the ambient air to actively searching the forest floor. Its journey takes it across a thick carpet of pine needles whispering softly beneath its weight. Every movement is fluid, calculated to conserve the precious caloric reserves so vital to survival in the northern taiga. Reaching a massive fallen spruce covered in a velvet quilt of green moss, the juvenile pauses to investigate. This decaying timber is a microhabitat teeming with hidden life. The Wolverine's broad paws, tipped with powerful, non-retractable claws, instinctively probe the crumbling bark and damp soil. Its keen sense of touch through sensitive paw pads detects the subtle vibrations of wood-boring beetle larvae deep within the deadfall. A gentle wind ripples through the upper canopy, carrying the scent of pine resin and damp earth, while a distant owl calls out once more across the quiet woods, grounding the scene in a deep, nocturnal tranquility. The young carnivore ignores the high canopy, focusing entirely on the rich olfactory and tactile details beneath its snout. It methodically tears at a patch of loose bark, revealing a labyrinth of ancient insect galleries. No easy meal of cached meat is hidden here tonight, but the search itself is rewarding, sharpening the instincts that will sustain it through the changing seasons. Satisfied with the exploration, the Wolverine withdraws its dark muzzle from the hollow. It shakes a few stray flakes of wood from its whiskers, exhales a warm plume of breath into the cool night air, and steps lightly over a cushion of lichen, continuing its solitary patrol through the sleeping shadows. High above the sleeping forest, a deep, resonant hoot breaks the silence of the taiga. The distant owl call rolls through the towering pines, a rhythmic nocturnal landmark in an endless sea of dark green. The juvenile pauses instantly, freezing mid-stride with head raised and round ears twitching. It stands motionless, mapping the acoustic landscape, measuring the distance and direction of the sound with an innate auditory precision. In the quiet canopy, a gentle wind stirs the needles once more, sending a soft, susurrating whisper downward. The Wolverine's dark eyes reflect the pinprick light of the distant stars, completely unbothered by the vastness of the night. Sound, wind, and shadow are merely data points for the developing mind of the young carnivore, each element helping it place itself within the greater ecosystem. With the acoustic signature of the forest safely interpreted, the animal resumes its steady, unhurried pace. Its breathing is calm, perfectly regulated to match the slow rhythm of the midnight woods. The footfalls are barely audible, a faint rustling of leaves and needles as the juvenile glides deeper into the shadows. A quiet phantom moving gracefully through the ancient, whispering pines. Beneath a low-hanging canopy of boughs, the young Wolverine ascends a sheltered earthen ridge, moving away from the damp chill of the lower basin. It curls its compact body within a shallow, needle-lined depression tucked securely between the gnarled roots of an ancient cedar. Here, shielded from the gentle draft of the midnight wind, the juvenile settles into a restorative stillness, dedicating this quiet hour to the essential maintenance of its physical resilience. With deliberate, methodical care, the animal begins to groom. A dense, multi-layered winter coat, designed to trap body heat against the subarctic cold, demands meticulous attention. It passes its wide paws over its muscular shoulders, smoothing the dark, coarse guard hairs and clearing away microscopic debris, pine resin, and forest grit collected during its long, nocturnal patrol. Using its sharp incisors, it gently combs through the thick underfur, an instinctive behavior that not only removes parasites and foreign matter, but also fluffs the insulating down to maximize thermal efficiency for the rest cycle ahead. Mammalian grooming is a vital physiological reset. By redistributing natural skin oils along the length of each hair shaft, the Wolverine preserves the water-resistant qualities of its pelt, ensuring complete defense against the lingering spring moisture. Each deliberate stroke of tongue and claw speaks of an innate, ancient wisdom, a quiet harmony with the rhythms of the taiga. As the frantic energy of the hunt fades, the juvenile's metabolism slows down to conserve precious energy reserves. Its eyelids grow heavy, drooping softly against the starlight. Safe within its earthen alcove, the young carnivore surrenders to the deep, dreamless quiet of the forest floor, breathing in the rich, comforting scent of cedar and pine as it drifts toward sleep. With its coat thoroughly tended, the young wolverine pulls its muscular limbs inward, wrapping its long, bushy tail securely around its nose and face. This posture is far more than a mere preference for comfort. It is a finely tuned thermodynamic strategy. By breathing into the curled shelter of its tail, the animal warms the incoming night air before it reaches its lungs, significantly reducing heat loss in the cooling spring air. As stillness takes complete hold of the cedar alcove, the juvenile's heartbeat begins a slow, steady descent. Its respirations deepen and lengthen, matching the low, rhythmic sigh of the forest canopy above. In this state of regulated torpor, the body temperature dips slightly, an evolutionary adaptation that preserves vital fat reserves and metabolic energy during the quiet hours between darkness and dawn. Every cellular process hums at a muted, efficient pace, allowing the resilient muscles and padded paws to recover from the miles of steady travel across the taiga. Outside the protective roots, the starlit night continues its slow, majestic arc across the heavens. The constellations drift westward, marking the passage of hours in utter silence, save for the occasional whisper of a passing breeze through the high pine needles. The distant, resonant hoot of an owl sounds once more, softer now, fading into the fabric of the sleeping wilderness. Untroubled and deeply secure within its sheltered haven, the juvenile rests completely, cradled by the timeless rhythms of the northern forest, ready to awaken renewed when the morning light finally warms the taiga floor. High above the northern forest, the late afternoon sun hangs low and golden, casting long amber rays through the towering spruces of the old-growth boreal canopy. Here, far from the harsh winds of winter, the deep woods pulse with the lush, vibrant life of high summer. A gentle breeze whispers softly through dense boughs laden with needles, carrying the rich, earthy scent of damp moss, pine resin, and sun-warmed peat. In this sprawling, tranquil wilderness, the seasonal abundance transforms the landscape into a thriving haven. The dense upper canopy filters the harsh glare of the day, transforming the light into a mosaic of dancing shadows and warm, golden spots that dapple the forest floor. Ferns unfurl their vibrant fronds in the damp shade, and delicate wildflowers bloom among thick carpets of green moss that cushion the ancient ground. Amidst this peaceful, verdant sanctuary, a subadult wolverine emerges onto a ridge of granite boulders. Having outgrown the complete dependence of its early kitstood, this young carnivore moves with the deliberate, unhurried grace of an animal learning the boundaries of its vast home range. Its broad, heavily muscled shoulders and wide, snowshoe-like paws, adaptations designed for deep winter drifts, now navigate the soft, yielding duff of the summer floor with quiet curiosity. The air hums with a soothing, continuous symphony of the season. Dragonflies dart silently across the shadows. Tiny forest insects drift in the sunbeams, and the distant, melodic calls of thrushes drift down from the treetops. Everything slows down in the warm afternoon stillness, settling into the heavy, comforting rhythm of a northern forest resting beneath the summer sun. The young wolverine steps off the earth and onto a rising cluster of ancient granite boulders, draped in a thick, velvet green blanket of plerosium moss. Each step is deliberate and quiet, showcasing a developing mastery of the complex terrain. Unlike the feline grace of some predators, the subadult moves with a heavy-set, grounded rhythm, its posture low to the ground, its broad, semi-plantigrade feet placing both heel and toe firmly upon the earth, distribute its growing weight evenly across the slick, damp stone. Long, non-retractable claws curve downward from wide paws, perfectly adapted for digging, but now serving as natural crampons. They gently pierce the spongy, moisture-laden moss, securing a silent grip on the sloping rock face. This specialized anatomy, forged by evolutionary necessity, prevents slipping as the young carnivore negotiates the uneven contours of the boulders. Every movement feels measured, an instinctive test of balance and muscle coordination. Beneath the thick layers of emerald moss, the stone radiates a cool, damp shade, offering a refreshing contrast to the warm air above. The Wolverine pauses atop the highest boulder, resting its weight comfortably on broad forepaws. It lowers its head, pressing a sensitive, wet black truffle of a nose directly into the plush green carpet. Inhaling deeply, it sorts through a rich tapestry of scents, the sharp tang of fermenting leaf litter, the earthy musk of subterranean voles, and the faint, sweet trace of hidden beetle larvae resting deep within the crevices of the stone. The forest floor breathes in a slow, steady pulse, matching the calm, unhurried exploration of the young traveler navigating its stony domain. Sliding down from the boulder's edge, the subadult ambles toward a colossal white spruce that fell many seasons ago. The ancient trunk lies half-sunken in the loam, its outer armor split and softened by decades of rain and fungal decay. This fallen giant is a bustling metropolis of invertebrate life, perfectly suited for a young predator refining its foraging repertoire. The Wolverine halts beside the log, its body language shifting from casual travel to focused investigation. With deliberate care, the animal presses its broad muzzle against the crumbling bark. A phenomenal sense of smell, enhanced by a specialized olfactory lobe in the brain, guides its search past the surface scents down to the rich interior. It detects the faint formic acid of carpenter ants and the distinct, wood-boring aroma of long-horned beetle grubs tunneling through the damp heartwood. Driven by persistent curiosity, the subadult deploys its powerful forelimbs. It rolls back a long sheet of rotting bark with effortless strength, revealing a hidden gallery of crawling insects. Slow-moving darkling beetles and scurrying woodlice scatter into the shadows. But the young carnivore is patient and methodical. It extends a thick tongue, lapping up the protein-rich morsels with practiced ease. Its strong, specialized jaw and broad molars, designed primarily to crush bone in harsher seasons, now make quick, quiet work of the smaller fare. The forest hums softly around the fallen log. A gentle breeze carries the scent of pine resin over the scene, while the steady drone of summer insects weaves an acoustic lullaby through the fading light. Satisfied with the meager yet rewarding harvest, the Wolverine lifts its head, its dark eyes blinking lazily as it processes the quiet abundance of the deep summer woods. Drifting away from the fallen spruce, the young Wolverine moves with a liquid, unhurried grace toward the base of a towering old-growth pine. Here, the dense canopy overhead weaves a thick green tapestry, catching the slanted rays of the late afternoon sun and scattering them into pools of golden dappled shadow. The ambient temperature drops gently beneath the boughs, offering a welcome respite from the lingering warmth of the day. Seeking a moment of stillness, the subadult settles onto a thick cushion of emerald moss. Its dark, heavy-furred body practically dissolves into the woodland background, a masterclass in natural camouflage. As a semi-fossorial mammal, built more for digging dens and traversing rugged earth than for spending time aloft, the young carnivore chooses the solid, grounding security of the forest floor. It curls its compact frame into a loose crescent, pressing its muscular chest against the cool, damp earth to regulate its body temperature. In this quiet sanctuary, the animal's respiration slows. The rhythmic rise and fall of its thick fur matches the steady, restorative pulse of the old-growth ecosystem. High above, a pair of gray jays flit silently between the needle-laden branches, while the distant, melodic cadence of a hermit thrush drifts through the cooling air. The gentle wind sighs through the canopy overhead, rustling the high needles into a soft, whispering lullaby. With its broad chin resting lightly upon its massive, cream-clawed paws, the Wolverine lets its heavy eyelids droop. It does not sleep deeply, but lingers instead in a state of tranquil, half-aware repose, absorbing the peace of the deepening afternoon. All around the resting subadult, the high summer forest breathes with a vibrant, rhythmic life. This northern woodland is a complex web of interconnected organisms where every square inch hums with invisible activity. A low, continuous drone rises from the understory, the collective beating of wings from countless bumblebees and solitary wasps visiting the blooming fireweed and wild berries tucked into patches of sunlight. Their gentle buzz weaves an auditory tapestry with the whispering breeze, creating a soothing white noise that ripples through the ancient spruce and pine needles. Above the thicket, the wind stirs the uppermost canopy, drawing a soft, susurrant sigh from the dense green boughs. It is the sound of millions of needles rubbing together, a sound like ocean waves sliding over distant, rounded pebbles. Every now and then, this steady rustling is punctuated by the sharp, clear notes of a boreal chickadee darting between twigs in search of dormant larvae, its tiny movements sending miniature showers of dew and dust cascading toward the forest floor. In the cooling air, scent molecules travel effortlessly on the light thermal currents. The rich, earthy perfume of decomposing duff, damp moss, and sun-warmed pine resin drifts past the Wolverine's twitching black nose. It is a sensory feast of organic abundance, signaling a healthy, thriving ecosystem at the peak of its seasonal productivity. The young carnivore inhales deeply, its sensitive olfactory receptors mapping the shifting environment without requiring a single movement. The sounds and scents blend together into a heavy, soporific lullaby, wrapping the resting animal in a deep, cocooning blanket of wilderness peace. As the long shadows of late afternoon begin to stretch across the moss-covered boulders, the quality of the forest light shifts perceptibly. The golden rays of the sun slant lower through the ancient spruce canopy, trading their bright midday warmth for a softer, amber glow. This transition brings a gradual cooling to the understory, as light thermal currents begin to reverse and flow downward along the contours of the terrain. The subadult Wolverine stirs from its resting place beneath the sprawling root system. It stretches its muscular frame, extending powerful forelimbs equipped with long, semi-retractile claws that are perfectly adapted for both digging and arboreal locomotion. With a gentle shake of its dense, dark brown fur, the young carnivore prepares to resume its journey. Turning its broad head westward, the Wolverine catches the scent of moisture and open air drifting from the nearby river valley. Its dark eyes scan the complex understory where the old-growth forest slopes gradually downward toward lower elevations. The rich tapestry of daytime sounds, the buzzing insects and the brisk calls of chickadees begins to give way to the quieter, more subdued rustles of evening twilight. Moving with a steady, rolling gait, the subadult steps off the mossy ledge and melts silently into the ferns. It navigates the uneven terrain with effortless grace, its powerful shoulder muscles rippling beneath its thick coat. Every step is an unhurried exploration of the vast boreal wilderness, guided by an ancient, instinctual map that leads ever onward into the growing dusk. High above the sprawling valley, the western mountain ridges swallow the last direct rays of the summer sun. A long, cooling shadow stretches across the steep, pine-clad slopes, signaling the end of the long boreal day. Downward through this fading light moves a solitary subadult Wolverine, its broad, heavy-muscled frame navigating the loose scree with quiet, practiced ease. At this transitional life stage, the young carnivore roams far from its natal territory, learning to master the diverse topography of the northern wilderness. As it descends toward the wide valley floor, the steady rhythmic murmur of a glacial river rises to meet it. The water, fed by distant melting ice fields, cuts a braided path through expansive gravel bars and fine, wind-swept sand. With every cautious step, the Wolverine adjusts to the changing microclimate. Cool, dense air begins to pool near the valley bottom, rolling off the rushing water and carrying the crisp fragrance of damp earth and crushed pine needles. This temperature drop triggers a natural physiological response in the animal. Its dense, oil-rich underfur traps body heat, while specialized vascular networks in its paws help regulate core temperature as the landscape cools. Pausing at the edge of the rocky riverbed, the subadult raises its broad head. Its dark, rounded ears twitch toward the rushing current, filtering the ambient sound of the stream while remaining acutely tuned to the subtle rustle of nocturnal insects waking in the riverside grasses. The fading amber glow of twilight reflects off the pale stones, casting a soft, peaceful light over the riverbank as the night begins to settle in. Closer to the water's edge, the steady, rhythmic murmur of the glacial river takes center stage. This aquatic ecosystem pulses with life, driven by the relentless journey of meltwater rushing down from ancient high-altitude snowfields. The constant, low-frequency sound of the stream acts as a gentle, hypnotic lullaby, smoothing the edges of the waking world. Here, a distinct microclimate unfolds along the shoreline. Cool air, heavy with moisture and rising directly from the rushing current, meets the lingering, sun-baked warmth trapped within the low-lying riparian zone. This meeting of temperatures creates a rolling mist that drifts low over the smooth, rounded river stones. As this chilled air brushes against the Wolverine's coat, the subadult responds instinctively. Its breathing slows, matching the steady cadence of the current. Inhaling deeply, the animal draws in the rich atmosphere. The crisp, vapor-laden breeze carries the distinct scent of river silt and churning minerals, cooling the Wolverine's sinuses and signaling its internal thermoregulatory system to prepare for the approaching night. The contrast between the warm earth underfoot and the refreshing breath of the river prompts the young carnivore to stretch, lengthening its powerful frame along the damp sand. Every exhalation forms a tiny, fleeting cloud in the cooling air, dissolving quickly into the vast, quiet expanse of the valley. The soothing rush of the stream wraps around the resting animal like a blanket, anchoring it peacefully to the pulsing rhythm of the flowing water. Leaving the warmth of the sand, the subadult pads softly toward the margin where land meets water. Its broad, heavily furred paws make almost no sound against the shifting shore, acting as natural snowshoes that distribute its growing weight evenly over the unstable grains. With every step, highly sensitive mechanoreceptors packed into the leather pads of its toes read the microscopic vibrations and textures of the earth. The Wolverine pauses, pressing a damp forepaw down against a cluster of smooth river stones, perfectly gauging the temperature and density of the subsurface. A sprawling tangle of pale driftwood, bleached by years of sun and seasonal floods, rests half buried in the silt. The young carnivore moves toward it with a slow, deliberate gait, utilizing its acute habitat utilization instincts. It dips its low-slung head, whiskering the damp crevices of the decaying wood. The coarse guard hairs and sensitive vibrissae brush against rough bark, detecting residual chemical signatures left behind by migrating fish or passing shorebirds earlier in the day. Each movement is fluid and unhurried. The Wolverine circles the drift log, its powerful shoulders shifting smoothly beneath dark, dense fur. It nudges a damp patch of earth with a wet snout, testing the ground for hidden burrows or buried morsels, before casually tracing the contour of the receding waterline. The glistening wet stones offer a cool, refreshing resistance to its claws, anchoring the solitary animal in a quiet world of touch, texture, and ancient stone. As the shadows lengthen across the valley floor, the cooling evening breeze sweeps down from the high glacial passes, bringing with it a rich tapestry of airborne signatures. The Wolverine lifts its heavy head, turning its muzzle deliberately into the current of air. Its olfactory bulb, exceptionally large and densely packed with specialized receptor neurons, instantly unlocks the complex chemistry of the twilight landscape. Wafting across the damp sands comes the heavy, mineral-rich aroma of fresh river silt mingling with the sharp, resinous notes of distant boreal pine. Beneath these dominant layers, the subadult's nose isolates the faint, sweet trace of blooming Arctic flora clinging to the upper slopes. Each molecule of scent tells a detailed story of the surrounding ecosystem. With quiet intent, the young carnivore pauses to analyze a particularly intriguing strand of odor carried on the wind. This intricate sensory processing is a vital milestone in its growing independence, sharpening the territorial awareness it will need as a solitary adult. The Wolverine identifies the distinct, passing signature of a migratory waterfowl resting briefly upstream, followed closely by the earthy musk left hours earlier by a foraging fox. The animal exhales softly, its warm breath condensing slightly in the dropping temperature before the breeze whisks it away. Rather than reacting with alarm or defensive tension, the subadult processes the information with calm, measured indifference, cataloging the neighborhood safely from its sheltered stretch of shoreline. The gathering dusk deepens, and the symphony of drifting aromas settles gently into the quiet stillness of the darkening river valley. With the scent-laden breeze now settling into a gentle cadence, the young Wolverine turns its attention toward the practical business of sleep. Moving with a fluid, measured grace across the damp sands, the subadult begins to scan the riverbank for a secure microhabitat that offers both physical protection and optimal thermoregulation. The ideal resting site must shield its thickening fur from the biting night air while providing a clear vantage point of the immediate surroundings. A massive, sun-bleached cottonwood log, half buried by past spring floods, catches the animal's eye. Beneath its sprawling, moss-draped root system lies a deep, sheltered depression carved into the embankment. The Wolverine approaches the cavity cautiously, dipping its head low to inspect the dark interior. Specialized vibrissae, long, sensitive facial whiskers, sweep across the damp earth and exposed roots, mapping the contours of the recess with exquisite precision. Finding the space dry and secure, the animal crawls inside. To achieve thermal comfort, the Wolverine begins a familiar, rhythmic sequence of resting behaviors. It turns in slow, deliberate circles, its broad paws working the loose sandy soil and leaf litter to pack down a supportive mattress. This instinctive habitat modification creates a customized basin that conforms perfectly to its muscular frame. As the subadult settles its weight into the newly softened earth, its heavy musculature relaxes, and its thick underfur traps a layer of body heat against the dropping ambient temperature. A final, contented sigh escapes its dark muzzle, marking the boundary between the active day and the restorative peace of the riverbank night. Deep within the sheltered roots of the cottonwood, twilight takes full hold of the river valley. The ambient air cools rapidly, yet inside the earthen depression, the Wolverine's resting metabolism maintains a stable thermal equilibrium. Its thick, oil-coated guard hairs and dense underfur work in silent concert, sealing in body heat while the surrounding temperature drops toward the midnight low. Outside the den, the continuous, rhythmic murmur of the glacial stream provides a steady auditory backdrop. This ancient flowing sound blends seamlessly with the quiet stillness of the taiga, washing over the riverbank in soft, predictable waves. A gentle evening breeze rustles the nearby leaves, carrying the damp aroma of river silt and sweet pine. But the young predator no longer stirs to investigate. Its dark eyes drift closed, and the long, sensitive vibrissae finally come to rest against the cool earth. The subadult breathes slowly and deeply, each inhalation matching the steady, hypnotic cadence of the water rushing over smooth stones nearby. The heavy, muscular frame rises and falls in a tranquil, measured pattern, conserving precious energy for the challenges of tomorrow. In the enveloping shadows, distant calls of a nocturnal owl echo softly across the valley, absorbed by the thick boreal forest and the soothing rush of the stream. Every muscle slackens completely. Heart rate and respiration settle into the restorative depths of sleep, guided by the timeless rhythms of the northern wilderness. Peaceful and secure in its hidden sanctuary, the young Wolverine surrenders entirely to the quiet embrace of the riverbank night. Twilight descends slowly upon the high alpine ridges, casting long, amber shadows across the rolling slopes. As the sun dips below the western peaks, the air cools, carrying the crisp, clean scent of granite and pine. Here, far above the dense forests, low-growing berry bushes carpet the rocky terrain, heavy with the sweet yield of late summer. From the shadowed edge of the timberline, a subadult Wolverine steps quietly into the open hillside. Its movements are deliberate and unhurried, perfectly attuned to the peaceful transition of the evening. This young mustelid possesses a stocky, powerful frame built for harsh winters, yet tonight it moves with a fluid, measured grace. Its semi-plantigrade feet, broad and padded with coarse hair, press securely against the uneven granite stones and cushiony alpine moss. As the Wolverine emerges, a gentle evening wind whispers through the dwarf willows and dwarf birch, carrying the distant, drowsy song of a thrush winding down its day. Down in the valley, a clear mountain stream babbles over smooth stones, its steady, liquid hum blending with the soft rustle of leaves stirred by the breeze. Tiny evening insects drift lazily above the vegetation, caught in the fading golden light. The subadult pauses on a flat slab of gray rock, lifting its broad snout to sample the cooling air. Every sense is active, registering the rich, sugary perfume of ripening mountain berries mixed with the earthy musk of the high-altitude ecosystem. There is no frantic urgency in its posture tonight. The warm months offer a bounty that shifts the usual demands of survival into a rhythm of gentle exploration. With a slow blink, the young carnivore takes its next measured step toward the berry patches, completely at home in the quiet gathering dusk. Before a low-lying carpet of dwarf bilberries, the subadult Wolverine comes to a halt. While its formidable reputation is built upon scavenging large ungulates and hunting agile prey across deep snow, the changing seasons invite a remarkable dietary plasticity. When summer reaches its zenith, these resilient mustelids readily expand their nutritional repertoire, utilizing high-elevation fruit to supplement their energetic needs with readily available carbohydrates and sugars. Lowering its heavy head, the young animal delicately nuzzles the tangled stems. Its dark, rounded claws part the foliage not to dig or tear, but to harvest the soft, dark globes of fruit. With surprising gentleness, the Wolverine laps up the berries, its small, rounded teeth crushing the sweet pulp. This seasonal omnivory provides a crucial metabolic boost, offering a rich source of vitamins and quick energy without the exhausting expenditure of a major hunt. Each deliberate bite reflects an evolutionary wisdom deeply embedded in its biology, a flexible survival strategy that allows the species to thrive across unpredictable alpine environments where food sources fluctuate wildly between seasons. As it feeds, a contented stillness settles over the slope. The gentle wind continues its soft murmur through the leaves, carrying the faint, soothing sounds of the distant stream below. The Wolverine pauses between mouthfuls, licking its muzzle with a slow, sweeping tongue, entirely absorbed in the peaceful rhythm of the twilight harvest. Leaving the bilberry patch behind, the subadult resumes its journey across the boulder-strewn hillside. Its movement is an effortless display of steady coordination, perfectly adapted to the rugged architecture of the high mountain. As it steps from stone to stone, Its broad paws, equipped with 5 toes and non-retractile claws, spread wide to distribute its weight evenly across the shifting, lichen-encrusted granite. This semi-plantigrade locomotion allows the young mustelid to tread securely where animals with narrower feet might stumble, turning the chaotic jumble of glacial debris into a smooth, navigable pathway. Beneath its heavy, dark brown coat, powerful shoulder muscles ripple with every fluid stride, bearing the compact, muscular frame upward with quiet grace. The Wolverine weaves seamlessly through patches of alpine heather and swaying wild grasses, its low-slung body gliding beneath the floral canopy without breaking the tranquil rhythm of the evening. Every placement of its limbs is measured and deliberate, reflecting a profound physical harmony with the rocky terrain. The soft brush of fur against stems whispers in the cooling air, blending with the steady, distant murmur of the mountain stream. There is no rush in its ascent, only the unhurried exploration of a landscape it knows by instinct and touch. The cooling stones radiate the final traces of daytime warmth against its belly, grounding the young animal as it steps higher into the deepening shadows of the fading alpine light. Stopping upon a wide, flat slab of gray granite that overlooks the darkening valley far below, the young Wolverine pauses its steady ascent. The fading light casts a soft amber glow across the rugged landscape, and in this quiet sanctuary, the subadult takes a mindful moment to tend to its dense, insulating coat. Resting comfortably on the sun-warmed stone, it lifts a broad paw to meticulously lick the dark fur, smoothing away the microscopic traces of sweet berry juice and wind-blown dust. Its thick, water-resistant guard hairs require constant care, serving as a vital shield against the biting chill of the upcoming alpine night. With slow, methodical strokes of its tongue and teeth, the mustelid works through the heavy layers of its pelt. This solitary grooming behavior is an essential ritual of maintenance, keeping its specialized coat clean and fully functional for the changing seasons ahead. Its small, rounded ears twitch occasionally at the faint sound of a late-flying insect buzzing past, yet the animal remains entirely at ease, completely immersed in the tranquil stillness of the high-altitude wilderness. The evening breeze carries the subtle, earthy scents of pine resin and damp stone, gently rippling the dark fur along its powerful spine. Through every unhurried movement, the young predator demonstrates a profound, natural adaptation to its mountain home, embodying the quiet resilience of life thriving at the roof of the world. As the last lingering shades of twilight melt into the deep indigo of the upper sky, the Wolverine lets out a soft, contented sigh, its muscles relaxing completely against the cooling granite as it prepares to welcome the peaceful embrace of the coming night. As the sky deepens from violet into a rich, velvety indigo, a gentle mountain breeze sweeps down from the jagged peaks above. This cooling air carries the crisp, clean scent of high-altitude pine and damp earth, washing over the granite slab in soft, rhythmic waves. The subadult lifts its dark, broad muzzle toward the descending chill, inhaling deeply to read the intricate olfactory landscape of the ridge. Its highly sensitive nasal passages process a complex tapestry of scents: the fading sweetness of crushed berries, the mineral tang of dew-kissed stone, and the distant, musky trace of passing mountain fauna. This sensory reading is an instinctive evaluation of its territory, a quiet moment of connection with the wider alpine ecosystem as nighttime takes hold. The temperature drops steadily with every passing minute, marking the swift transition from the warmth of late summer daylight to the brisk chill of the mountain night. Sensing this climatic shift, the young Wolverine decides to conclude its active foraging session. Its metabolic rate, finely tuned to the demanding rhythms of the high country, slows in response to the ambient cooling. Stretching its powerful limbs with a slow, languid motion, the mustelid eases itself down from the granite perch. Every unhurried breath releases a tiny plume of mist into the cooling atmosphere, perfectly attuned to the peaceful stillness that settles deeply over the ancient slopes. With measured and deliberate steps, the subadult leaves the granite perch behind, navigating the smooth, lichen-encrusted boulders with a quiet, fluid grace. It slips effortlessly into the shadowed recess beneath a massive rock overhang, a natural geologic shield that radiates the faint, lingering warmth absorbed from the day's sun. Protected from the mounting alpine draft, the young mustelid turns in a slow circle, softening the gravel bed with its paws before settling down. It curls its muscular body into a tight, energy-conserving sphere, an evolutionary adaptation that minimizes surface area exposure and preserves vital core heat during the chilly mountain night. Thick, multi-layered fur, consisting of coarse guard hairs over a dense insulating underfur, settles softly around its frame, creating a secure barrier against the dropping ambient temperature. Resting its heavy, broad head upon its powerful hind legs, the Wolverine lets its eyelids drift closed. Its respiration deepens and slows, perfectly synchronizing with the gentle, rhythmic whisper of the wind weaving through the crags outside. In this secluded hollow, cradled by ancient stone and the quiet stillness of the high country, the young predator surrenders to a restorative slumber, resting its resilient body in preparation for the untamed expanses waiting beyond the morning horizon. Far above the northern tree line, night does not arrive with the sudden descent of absolute shadow. Instead, the high-latitude summer lingers in a state of perpetual, suspended enchantment. Here, in the quiet embrace of the solstice, the sun merely dips below the distant horizon, leaving behind a profound and luminous twilight. The sky stretches wide and low, painted in gentle washes of bruised indigo and soft, molten amber, casting a dreamlike glow across the vast expanse of the northern muskeg. Out where the ancient spruce forest finally yields to the wide-open expanse of the peat bogs, the air grows still and cool. A gentle, whispering wind sweeps over the undulating carpets of sphagnum moss and silvery reindeer lichen, carrying with it the crisp, earthy scent of damp peat and distant pine. From the shadowed edge of the timberland, a lone traveler emerges into the glowing stillness. It is a subadult Wolverine, a young wanderer in the prime of its independent life. Silhouetted against the glowing horizon, the animal moves with a quiet, deliberate grace that defies its stocky, powerful build. The continuous twilight illuminates its dense, chocolate-brown fur, marked by the sweeping golden bands that trace its flanks. There is no rush in its stride, for the endless twilight offers hours of unhurried exploration. The landscape ahead is a flat, watery labyrinth of dark bog pools and tufted sedges, silent save for the occasional soft rustle of wind-swept grasses and the distant, haunting cry of a lonely waterfowl settling onto a hidden tarn. The young Wolverine pauses at the threshold of the open wetland, lifting its broad, rounded head to the cooling air, ready to traverse the vast, luminous wilderness stretching out beneath the northern sky. Before the young Wolverine lies a vast, deceptive cushion of water-saturated peat and fragile sphagnum. To a heavier predator, this spongy expanse would present a treacherous trap, a quaking morass of deep mud and hidden sinkholes. Yet the traveler steps forward with remarkable ease, its locomotion a masterclass in biomechanical adaptation. Each of the subadult's paws is exceptionally large in proportion to its sturdy frame, functioning as a natural biological snowshoe. As the foot descends upon the delicate carpet of moss and lichen, the toes spread wide, increasing the surface area and distributing the animal's weight with astonishing efficiency. Rather than plunging into the saturated ooze, the semi-plantigrade feet, resting both heel and sole upon the yielding surface, allow the Wolverine to glide over the terrain like a ghost. The movement is entirely silent. There is no heavy splashing, no sinking thud, only the faintest whisper of compressed vegetation springing softly back into place behind the departing steps. This specialized anatomy turns what should be an exhausting struggle across the muskeg into an effortless traversal. The Wolverine steps from hummock to tussock, its heavy winter claws retracting slightly to avoid snagging on the fibrous mat of roots and sedges. It navigates the soggy landscape with a buoyant grace, each stride purposeful, balanced, and remarkably light, maintaining an unbroken rhythm across the liquid heart of the sleeping northern bog. Pausing upon a low, moss-draped hummock, the subadult Wolverine comes to a gentle halt. The endless twilight air, cooled by the vast expanse of open water and damp peat, flows softly across its dark muzzle. The young animal lifts its head, pointing its nose toward the faint currents drifting lazily from the distant timberline. Here in the open basin, scent molecules travel with unobstructed ease on the nocturnal drafts. A highly developed olfactory system, backed by a complex nasal chamber lined with specialized membranes, decodes the invisible messages carried upon the wind. The Wolverine samples the breeze, its nostrils twitching subtly as it separates and identifies each microscopic trace, the sharp, earthy tang of decaying vegetation, the distant, musky hint of a passing caribou miles away, and the lingering, sweet aroma of hidden berries across the marsh. The ears, rounded and low-set, simultaneously tune into the subtle acoustics of the wetland. A gentle breeze rustles the dry blades of distant sedges, and from somewhere out in the shadowed channels comes the low, contented murmur of waterfowl resting upon the water. These auditory and olfactory cues paint a rich, detailed picture of the surrounding ecosystem. Nothing escapes this quiet, constant vigilance. With its sensory inventory complete and the surrounding air offering a clean, reassuring report of the sleeping wilderness, the young traveler exhales a soft, warm breath into the cooling night. The tension melts from its muscular shoulders, and it lets the tranquil rhythm of the northern bog carry it forward once again. All around the vast expanse of the muskeg, the acoustic tapestry of the northern summer night unfolds in soft, overlapping layers. A gentle wind slips across the waterlogged meadows, drawing a rhythmic, whispering rustle from the dense beds of tall sedges. This constant, soothing murmur blends seamlessly with the delicate, high-pitched hum of nocturnal insects hovering above the damp sphagnum moss. From a distant, mirrored channel hidden somewhere in the twilight haze, the low, resonant calls of migrating waterfowl drift softly across the open water, echoing like a lullaby through the quiet air. To the subadult Wolverine, these familiar sounds are simply the background rhythm of the wilderness, noticed only enough to be dismissed as ordinary. The young traveler maintains a calm indifference to the nocturnal symphony, its steady, unhurried pace undisturbed by the night's gentle chorus. As it steps softly from one floating peat mat to the next, the only sounds it makes are the faint, muted compressions of spongy lichen beneath its paws. Occasionally, the babble of a narrow, flowing stream cuts through the ambient noise, its cool waters meandering toward a larger basin. The Wolverine pauses briefly at the grassy edge, dipping its dark snout toward the current to drink, perfectly attuned to the harmonious balance of the wetland ecosystem. The water flows smoothly, carrying the reflections of a pale, sun-touched horizon that refuses to darken. Surrounded by this peaceful symphony of wind, water, and wing, the young carnivore continues its unbothered journey through the endless northern dusk. Hours of continuous travel begin to weigh upon the subadult's muscles, signaling the inevitable end of its nocturnal journey across the flat muskeg. In a landscape dominated by spongy sphagnum and saturated peat, finding a truly dry resting site requires patience and a discerning eye. The monotony of the wet, yielding terrain is finally broken when a low, ancient granite knoll rises gently above the surrounding marsh. This elevated outcropping of bedrock, scraped smooth by prehistoric glaciers, breaks the uniform horizon with a welcome promise of firm ground. For a roaming carnivore, thermoregulation and comfort dictate the choice of a sleeping refuge. Resting directly upon waterlogged moss would rapidly drain precious body heat through conduction, as moisture accelerates thermal loss even during the mild northern summer. The elevated granite, however, retains a gentle warmth absorbed from the lingering twilight. Furthermore, its height above the water table ensures a completely dry surface, free from the damp humidity of the lower peat beds. Approaching the rise, the young Wolverine scrambles up the sloping stone, its broad claws finding easy purchase on the lichen-dusted rock. It circles the small summit twice, testing the elevation for any lingering drafts before selecting a sheltered depression near the base of a stunted, wind-sculpted pine, curling its muscular body into a tight, compact sphere. The subadult tucks its heavily furred tail neatly around its nose to conserve warmth. As the midnight sun hovers just beneath the northern horizon, bathing the wilderness in a final, amber glow, the weary traveler surrenders to deep, restorative sleep upon the quiet stone. Upon the granite summit, sheltered by the dwarf pine, the world grows wonderfully quiet. The subadult's breathing slows into a deep, rhythmic cadence, matching the tranquil stillness of the sleeping boreal forest. In this posture of total relaxation, the body's metabolic rate adjusts, allowing the young carnivore to conserve valuable energy reserves for the challenges of the coming days. The cool night air carries the gentle scent of pine needles and damp earth, washing over the fur-lined sanctuary without disturbing the profound slumber. Farther out across the vast muskeg, the first faint whispers of dawn begin to brush the upper edge of the eastern sky. The continuous twilight of the northern summer night shifts imperceptibly, trading its amber hues for a soft, pearlescent gray. Yet, upon the elevated knoll, the sleeping Wolverine remains untouched by the changing light, nestled deeply within the quiet shadows of the bedrock. Every muscle relaxes completely, releasing the accumulated tension of miles of steady travel across the yielding peat. The ancient stones radiate a faint, lingering warmth into the chill air, cradling the resting animal in a gentle embrace. All around the knoll, the wilderness pauses, wrapped in a peaceful hush as the nocturnal insects quiet their hum and the distant waterfowl settle among the reeds. Safe upon its high refuge, wrapped in a dense coat designed to withstand the harshest extremes of the north, the subadult drifts deeper into restorative rest. Here, beneath the vast, pale sky of the waking taiga, time slows entirely, offering a moment of pure, undisturbed tranquility before the cycle of the northern day begins anew. The first golden rays of dawn pierce the low northern horizon, casting a soft, amber glow across the vast, treeless expanse of the high Arctic tundra. There are no forests here, only a boundless horizon where earth and pale sky merge in quiet harmony. Emerging from a narrow crevice beneath a frost-split boulder, a young subadult Wolverine steps out into the crisp, cool morning air. This is a journey of dispersal, a solitary venture far beyond the familiar boundaries of its mother's natal range, driven by an innate biological urge to find a home territory of its own. A gentle breeze carries the earthy fragrances of damp peat, awakening dwarf birch, and sun-warmed lichen. The Wolverine's dark, dense fur ripples slightly in the draft. It pauses, lifting its broad snout to sample the atmosphere. Every breath tells a story of the surrounding ecosystem. Invisible scent trails whisper of distant Arctic hares and migrating birds returning to the northern plains. Beneath the animal's paws lies a thick carpet of spongy moss and crunchy, pale reindeer lichen. As the Wolverine takes its first deliberate strides onto the flat, expansive plateau, its large, semi-plantigrade feet press softly into the yielding ground. These specialized paws act much like natural snowshoes, distributing the muscular predator's weight evenly across the fragile Arctic vegetation. Around it, the landscape slowly stirs to life. Faint, melodic bird song drifts from a distant marshland, harmonizing with the steady, soothing sigh of the morning wind whispering over the stones. The young Wolverine stands small against the immense, open scale of the northern wilderness, yet its powerful frame is perfectly engineered for the miles yet to unfold. With each steady step across the undulating plateau, the Wolverine's physical form reveals an ancient, flawless design for endurance. Its stride is a study in quiet efficiency, powered by an exceptionally robust skeleton and densely packed muscle. Beneath the thick, oily guard hairs that protect against the northern elements lies a heavily muscled shoulder girdle, built to propel the stocky frame forward hour after hour without fatigue. Unlike the fragile limbs of lighter-footed canids, the Wolverine possesses remarkably broad paws equipped with long, curved claws. These specialized appendages, which act as natural snowshoes during the deep drifts of winter, serve an equally vital purpose across the summer tundra. They provide exceptional traction and weight distribution, preventing the young explorer from sinking deeply into the spongy, waterlogged muskeg and treacherous peat bogs. Every footfall is deliberate and sure, minimizing wasted energy as the animal navigates tumbled, frost-shattered rocks and slippery moss beds. The gait itself is a rhythmic, rolling lope, a distinctive, tireless movement shared by few other land mammals. This signature locomotion allows the subadult to cover vast geographical distances with astonishing ease, eating away at the horizon mile by quiet mile. Its low center of gravity grants it incredible stability, turning every rolling hill and rocky outcrop into a smooth highway. As the morning warms and the sun climbs higher into the pale Arctic sky, this magnificent architecture of bone and muscle carries the solitary traveler ever deeper into its new world, moving with the steady, timeless cadence of the wilderness itself. Atop a low, wind-scoured glacial moraine, the subadult pauses its steady journey. The crisp morning wind whispers across the exposed stone, carrying whispers from the boundless horizon. The young Wolverine lifts its broad, dark snout toward the shifting air currents, closing its eyes for a moment to read the invisible stories written in the breeze. The animal's olfactory senses are astonishingly acute, wired deep into a brain designed for interpreting the vast, sparse Arctic ecosystem. As the air currents flow over its moist nasal mucosa, millions of specialized scent receptors decode a complex, layered mosaic of the northern wilderness. Faint on the wind comes the musky, mineral trace of migrating caribou far to the north, their distant movements mapped entirely through scent. Closer at hand, the sharp, fishy tang of nesting waterfowl drifts up from a shallow kettle lake nestled in the valley below. Interwoven with these environmental notes are the vital social messages of the tundra. The Wolverine catches the lingering chemical signature of a neighboring conspecific, a territorial boundary marker left days prior. In response, the subadult steps toward a prominent, lichen-dusted granite boulder. Pressing its specialized anal glands against the rough stone, the animal deposits its own subtle, enduring scent mark. This quiet chemical declaration reinforces its temporary, nomadic passage through the region, anchoring its solitary presence into the ancient landscape before turning once more to the open trail. The rising sun climbs higher into the pale blue sky, casting long, sharp shadows across the undulating landscape of dwarf birch and reindeer moss. The gentle breeze softens, carrying the quiet stillness of the high Arctic as dawn yields to the early hours of the summer morning. Far across the rolling plateau, a pair of ravens circles silently over a weathered rocky outcrop, their dark wings catching the pale northern light without a sound. Near a distant, meandering glacial stream, a solitary caribou grazes undisturbed, pulling at the tender tips of sedges and cotton grass. The Wolverine pauses on a carpet of green-gray lichen, observing these distant movements with a calm, unhurried detachment. Its dark, rounded eyes take in the immense scale of the wilderness, though the animal remains entirely focused on its own steady, purposeful journey. In this vast ecosystem, where resources are thinly scattered across hundreds of square miles, survival depends upon this continuous, unyielding momentum. The subadult's powerful, low-slung frame is built for endurance rather than explosive speed, allowing it to traverse immense distances across the tundra without exhausting its vital energy reserves. Every muscle and sinew works in quiet harmony as the young nomad evaluates the terrain ahead. There is no rush in the heart of the northern wilderness. The Wolverine turns its gaze away from the horizon, stepping lightly past a cluster of dwarf willows, its soft footpads rustling the ancient vegetation as it continues its solitary passage beneath the vast, open sky. As the morning sun climbs higher, bringing a gentle, radiant warmth to the open plateau, the Wolverine feels the subtle shift in temperature across its dense winter coat. Because these robust carnivores possess high basal metabolic rates and thick, multi-layered fur designed for extreme sub-zero cold, direct exposure to the rising summer heat requires careful behavioral thermoregulation. The subadult slows its tireless pace, allowing its body temperature to regulate as it begins searching for a cool, shadowed microhabitat. It investigates a natural depression nestled deep beneath a shelf of weather-worn granite. Pressing its broad snout against the soil, the animal tests the depth of the earth and the cool drafts flowing from the stones, ensuring the nook offers both security and a drop in ambient temperature. This rocky cavity provides a natural refuge from the warming air and the glaring expanse of the summer sky. The environment grows quieter as midday approaches. The crisp morning wind fades into a soft, steady stillness, and the distant birdsong drifts away on the quiet air. Satisfied with the shaded alcove, the young nomad steps inside the cool embrace of the rocks. It circles twice on the packed earth, finding a comfortable contour against the stone, and tucks its heavy tail neatly over its sensitive nose. With slow, rhythmic breaths, the Wolverine yields to the heavy peace of the Arctic afternoon, drifting into a deep, restorative slumber that will preserve its energy for the long twilight hours ahead. Curled tightly into a compact ball beneath the sheltering granite, the subadult Wolverine surrenders completely to a deep and restorative sleep. Its thick, multi-layered fur insulates against the stone, while its curled posture minimizes surface area to maintain optimal physiological balance during rest. The gentle morning wind whispers softly across the resilient tundra vegetation outside the alcove, carrying away the lingering sounds of the dawn and leaving behind an exquisite, unbroken quietude. Slowly, the rise and fall of the young animal's flanks synchronize with the peaceful rhythm of the wilderness. Each breath is measured and calm, fueling the slow-burning metabolism of a northern nomad resting between great journeys. The atmosphere settles into an enduring, peaceful stillness across the lichen-covered plateaus. A profound stillness that quietly anticipates the eventual arrival of autumn and the changing of the Arctic seasons. Higher above the sheltering rocks, the summer sun tracks slowly across the vast open sky. But inside the cool, shadowed crevice, time seems to pause entirely. There is no need for haste now, only the gentle restoration of strength and the quiet promise of tomorrow's exploration. Safe within the embrace of the ancient stone, the Wolverine drifts further into stillness, wrapped in the enduring peace of the high northern lands. The great northern forest breathes out a long, golden sigh. High above the rolling hills, the afternoon sun hangs low, casting a rich amber glow across a sea of larch and trembling aspen. Every needle and leaf seems spun from old copper and brass, rustling softly in a gentle wind that carries the crisp, clean scent of approaching frost. Beneath this brilliant autumn canopy, the forest floor is a quiet labyrinth of crunching pine needles and pale reindeer lichen. Through the dappled shadows moves an independent adult Wolverine, fully immersed in the solitary rhythm of his vast home range. Weighing nearly 30 pounds, this heavy-set mustelid moves with a deceptive, rolling grace, his broad paws perfectly adapted for traversing both jagged stone and deep, insulating snows yet to come. His coat is currently undergoing a remarkable seasonal transformation. The dense, coarse guard hairs, measuring several inches long and resistant to frost, are pushing through his summer fur, tipped with a frosted silver that catches the amber light. Beneath this protective outer layer lies a dense, oily underfur, a biological marvel designed to trap body heat against the sub-zero temperatures of the coming taiga winter. As he picks his way through a grove of golden larch, a distant raven calls out, its hoarse croak echoing off a nearby granite ridge. The Wolverine pauses, lifting his broad, blunt-nosed head to sample the drifting currents of air. Every breath is an analysis of the ecosystem around him, detecting the faint, mineral murmur of a nearby stream, the rich decay of fallen timber, and the lingering traces of neighboring rivals. Here, in the quiet solitude of the shoulder season, he claims his space, perfectly attuned to the shifting wilderness. He stops beside a weathered granite boulder, its surface dusted with pale green crustose lichen. This ancient stone stands like a silent sentinel along the invisible boundary of his domain. Turning with deliberate care, the Wolverine presses the base of his tail against the rough rock face. Specialized anal glands, situated beneath the skin, release a thick, pungent musk, a complex chemical signature unique to this individual alone. This potent secretion is no mere calling card, it is a profound broadcast of ownership. The oily musk contains volatile organic compounds engineered to withstand the drying winds and damp autumn air, lingering for days, even weeks. To any passing rival, this scent communicates vital information: age, sex, physiological condition, and the unwavering resolve of the resident male. Wolverines require immense home ranges, hundreds of square miles of boreal forest and rocky highlands, to secure enough nourishment during the lean months. Through these repeated anointing rituals, the landscape becomes an intricate map of ownership, reducing physical conflict by establishing clear boundaries before a rival ever crosses them. He rubs his flanks against the stone, ensuring his scent transfers fully to the grain of the rock. Satisfied, the heavy-set mustelid steps away, his powerful muscles rippling beneath his thick coat. He moves a few paces further down the ridge, pausing to inspect the base of a fallen pine trunk where a previous deposit still leaves a faint, earthy trace in the cool breeze. Leaving the granite sentinel behind, the Wolverine descends from the ridge into a sheltered hollow where stands of larch and trembling aspen reign. Here, the autumn floor is transformed into a deep, plush carpet of fallen needles, glowing the color of pale amber. As he steps onto this golden mattress, the brilliance of his unique anatomical design becomes effortlessly apparent. Unlike the delicate, dainty tracks of the canids and felines that share the taiga, his footprints are remarkably large, spanning nearly 5 inches across. This semi-plantigrade locomotion, where he places both heel and toe firmly upon the substrate, distributes his 35 pounds of solid muscle over a wide surface area. With every stride, his broad, web-like paws act as natural snowshoes, long before the first winter flurry touches the valley. This specialized adaptation prevents him from sinking into the soft, spongy duff of the forest floor, allowing him to glide across the terrain with surprising buoyancy and grace. His limbs are heavily muscled, short, and stoutly built, perfectly proportioned for leveraging immense power through difficult, uneven footing. As he walks, his long, non-retractile claws, designed primarily for excavation and climbing rather than prey capture, leave delicate, parallel grooves in the fragrant needlefall behind him. The gentle autumn wind whispers through the thinning golden canopy overhead, carrying the dry, sweet scent of resin and earth. The Wolverine's rhythmic footfalls produce only a muffled, reassuring rustle against the needle-strewn ground, a soft susurration that blends completely with the serene, quiet pulse of the fading afternoon. Leaving the open needle mat behind, the Wolverine pauses beside an enormous, moss-draped spruce that fell during some long-forgotten winter storm. Time and moisture have softened the ancient trunk into a crumbling ridge of dark loam and velvet green, yet it remains a landmark of immense importance in the animal's mental map. A Wolverine's spatial memory is legendary, forged through tireless travel and an acute awareness of every square mile of its range. He clambers effortlessly over the rotting wood, his heavy shoulders rolling with fluid, measured grace. Dropping his broad snout to the porous bark, he inhales deeply, his nasal passages, lined with a vast expanse of specialized olfactory tissue, sort through the rich bouquet of forest decay to isolate fainter, more vital signatures. He is searching for the lingering scent of past meals, cached bones, frozen meat, or surplus fat wedged deep within the root vaults by his own paws weeks or months prior. Beneath the timber pile, a network of hollows offers ideal shelter for small forest mammals preparing for their long winter dormancy. Voles and deer mice scurry through hidden runways beneath the debris, fattened on fallen seeds. Though not his primary pursuit today, the Wolverine's keen hearing detects a faint, scurrying vibration beneath the wood. With a few deliberate, measured sweeps of his powerful forelimbs, he peels away slabs of soggy bark and loose duff. He does not need to dig deeply. A quick, methodical inspection satisfies his curiosity before he glides onward, leaving the quiet timber pile undisturbed in the fading, amber light. The afternoon sun dips lower, casting long, bruised shadows of indigo and violet across the forest floor. Through the thinning canopy of golden larch and pale aspen, the slanting light transforms the northern woods into a cathedral of amber and copper. The air carries a crisp, mineral edge, signaling the steady cooling of the earth as twilight approaches. High above, a distant raven calls out, a deep, resonant croak that rolls over the silent ridges before dissolving into the vast, open sky. A gentle wind whispers through the crown of the evergreens, sending a dry cascade of golden needle leaves fluttering down to rest upon the damp moss. Below, the forest exhales the earthy perfume of resin, peat, and cooling stone. Every sound is softened by the deep carpet of fallen foliage, the faint murmur of a stream winding through distant granite boulders, and the slow, rhythmic settling of the woods into its evening stillness. In this mellow illumination, the boreal landscape rests in profound equilibrium. The transition from the fevered abundance of summer to the stark austerity of winter is marked by a deep, meditative quiet. The forest becomes a place of stillness and shadow, where the golden light lingers longest on the rugged stone faces of the ridge. Here, beneath the widening canopy of evening stars, the ancient rhythm of the northern wilderness slows, inviting the earth to sleep. Beneath the shadow of an overhanging granite ledge, the Wolverine pauses. The rock face retains a faint, residual warmth absorbed from the fleeting afternoon sun, offering a natural thermal shelter against the gathering chill. As the ambient temperature drops, metabolic demands shift. The animal's dense hydrophobic guard hairs, interlocked with a thick, insulating underfur, puff slightly to trap a personal layer of body heat. This specialized coat, perfected over millennia for extreme sub-zero survival, ensures optimal thermoregulation without the need for an elaborate den. Curling its muscular frame into a compact, low-profile sphere, the Wolverine tucks its bushy tail over its black muzzle. This posture minimizes exposed surface area, protecting sensitive extremities from the biting frost. The heavy paws, broad and snowshoe-like, rest comfortably beneath its chest. With a slow, steady exhalation that fogs softly in the cooling air, the solitary hunter settles into the moss-cushioned alcove. Outside the stony shelter, the gentle wind sighs through the fading gold of the larch branches, while the darkening boreal forest breathes in a deep, rhythmic peace. The vast, quiet taiga closes its eyes for the night. The sun dips low, sliding past the jagged crown of the mountain profile to cast a pale, fading golden light across the sprawling boreal landscape. As the shadows lengthen, a sudden chill sweeps through the ravine, transforming the lingering moisture of the damp forest floor. Delicate frost crystals begin to bloom across the rich green moss and the edges of fallen, amber leaves, tracing every intricate vein with a delicate line of white ice. From the shadows of a boulder alcove, an adult Wolverine emerges. It stretches a heavy, muscular frame, shaking off the stillness of the daylight hours. With the dropping temperature, the animal's specialized coat reacts. The dense, oil-rich guard hairs, designed to shed moisture and resist freezing, bristle slightly against the crisp air. Beneath this outer layer, a thick, woolly underfur traps a vital pocket of body heat, a crucial adaptation for surviving the approaching northern winter. A gentle wind whispers through the towering pines, carrying the faint scent of approaching snow and rustling the frozen leaves beneath the animal's broad paws. This solitary hunter moves with deliberate, unhurried grace, perfectly tuned to the shifting rhythms of the wild. Every step is measured, designed to conserve precious energy as the wilderness transitions into the deep, breathless quiet of the freezing night. The flowing stream nearby babbles a soft, steady lullaby over smooth stones, while far off in the darkening timber, a lone owl lets out a muted, resonant call. The frost deepens upon the moss, sealing the earth in a quiet, silver embrace. The Wolverine turns purposefully toward the jagged throat of a steep rocky ravine, where shadows pool deep and cold. It approaches the vertical stone face with unhurried confidence. Here, its specialized morphology comes into full effect. The animal possesses semi-plantigrade feet, meaning it places the soles of both its feet and its heels flat against the ground, distributing its weight evenly while offering remarkable stability across precarious surfaces. Long, powerful claws, thick, curved, and non-retractile, reach out to test the stone. Unlike the retractable claws of felines, these sturdy appendages are permanently exposed, acting like natural crampons designed for gripping frozen granite. As the Wolverine ascends the steep cliffside, each digit flexes with precise mechanical coordination. The claws anchor securely into micro fissures and patches of slippery rime frost, preventing any slide. This anatomical mastery over rugged terrain allows the mustelid to navigate vertical inclines that would deter most other predators. Specialized ankle joints further aid the climb, capable of rotating inward to let the animal reverse down steep descents with the same fluid ease. Every movement is a study in efficient biomechanics. As it tops the rocky ledge, the Wolverine pauses, breathing out a soft plume of mist into the cooling air, its body perfectly engineered to conquer the frozen heights without expending a single unnecessary calorie. At the summit of the rocky ledge, the Wolverine pauses beside a prominent granitic outcrop that catches the last amber glow of the fading sun. A gentle wind sweeps across the exposed stone, carrying the crisp scent of approaching winter. The animal approaches a vertical, weather-beaten stone face, its dark muzzle lifting to sample the shifting air currents. This massive boulder serves as a silent crossroads in the vast northern wilderness. Leaning close to the granite, the adult Wolverine investigates a fissure worn smooth by generations of passing wildlife. It detects the faint, lingering traces of a neighboring rival's scent, a silent message left days prior. In response, The mustelid activates specialized anal glands located near the base of the tail, releasing a potent, musky secretion directly onto the rough stone surface. This chemical mark reinforces vital territorial boundaries, communicating vital information to any competing wanderers that might traverse the ravine tomorrow. In the cold, dry autumn air, this complex olfactory signal stabilizes and persists for miles. It conveys age, sex, and reproductive status without the animal ever needing to make a sound. The quiet chemistry of the wilderness speaks volumes in the gathering dusk, maintaining peace through distance and invisible boundaries. Having renewed its claim upon the rocky domain, the solitary creature turns its head toward a sheltered overhang nearby, its senses continuously attuned to the subtle shifts of the darkening ecosystem. As twilight deepens into a rich indigo hue, the ambient soundscape of the gorge undergoes a subtle and profound transformation. The gentle whispering of the evening wind carries softly through the canyon, rustling dry, brittle brush against the newly frozen stone. Faintly, from miles away across the deepening forest, the low, resonant hoot of a distant owl echoes through the chill air, signaling the transition from day to night. This rapid drop in ambient temperature triggers remarkable physiological adaptations throughout the surrounding ecosystem. The sudden frost silences the remaining late-season insects, while the approaching chill slows the metabolic rates and movement of small forest mammals. As moisture settles on the foliage and instantly crystallizes into delicate needles of ice, a profound and heavy stillness settles over the rocky terrain. The wolverine's dense, oily underfur, nature's ultimate insulation, puffs slightly in response to the descending mercury, trapping a vital layer of warm air close to the skin. Every breath forms a brief, soft plume of white vapor in the gathering dark. The flowing stream at the base of the ravine murmurs a steady, muffled lullaby against its narrowing icy banks. In this quiet crucible of the northern autumn, the world draws inward, wrapped in a blanket of frost and settling gently into a state of deep, restorative rest. Beneath a massive fallen boulder, where the deep cleft of the stone meets the earth, the adult wolverine discovers a natural sanctuary. This granite recess offers profound protection from the biting mountain draft. Driven by ancient instinct, the animal steps into the dim alcove and circles twice within the sheltered enclosure. Its wide paws sweep the ground, carefully pressing down loose autumn leaf litter and soft, frost-kissed moss. This deliberate treading establishes a modest thermal barrier against the cold stone floor, insulating the resting site from the chill radiating up from the bedrock. With the bedding arranged to its precise comfort, the wolverine settles into a tight, compact ball. It tucks its muscular snout securely beneath its broad tail, minimizing any exposed surface area to conserve precious body heat through the long, freezing hours ahead. The dense, semi-aquatic guard hairs of its winter coat settle like a heavy thatch over the downy underfur, sealing in warmth while the ambient temperature outside continues its steep descent. As the quiet night deepens, a faint, feather-light snowfall begins to drift silently down through the canyon, dusting the entrance of the stone alcove with powdery white flakes. The gentle hush of the falling snow mingles with the steady, distant murmur of the frozen stream below, wrapping the resting predator in a deep and restorative stillness. Safe within the granite recess, the wolverine's breathing slows to a steady, rhythmic cadence. Each gentle exhale warms the small pocket of air trapped against its thick fur, creating a microclimate of restorative heat. The ambient temperature outside plunges further, and the lingering moisture on the surrounding moss crystallizes into delicate needles of ice, sealing the landscape in a quiet, frozen embrace. This deep state of rest is a vital physiological adaptation for the northern predator. By lowering its metabolic rate during the coldest hours of the night, the animal preserves precious energy reserves, storing its strength for the extensive travels that await across the amber forest come dawn. Its heavy muscles relax completely, though the semi-retractile claws remain slightly flexed within their protective sheaths, ready to engage the terrain at a moment's notice. The falling snow weaves a thicker velvet curtain across the alcove's entrance, dimming the shadows until the outside world vanishes entirely. Faint traces of the day's scents fade from the crisp air, replaced by the pure, neutral stillness of the high-altitude winter. The distant murmur of the stream softens as ice claims the water's edge, leaving only the sound of deep, even respiration echoing softly against the ancient stone. Wrapped in its insulating layers of fur and earth, the Wolverine drifts further into profound, untroubled slumber, perfectly attuned to the slow, enduring rhythm of the wilderness. As the autumn sun dips below the jagged horizon, the taiga exhales a cool, amber breath. The deep green of towering spruce trees softens in the fading light, mingling with the fallen needles of golden larch that carpet the forest floor. A gentle wind whispers through the branches, carrying the crisp, clean scent of pine resin and damp earth. Far off, a hidden stream babbles a steady, hypnotic lullaby, blending with the occasional soft creak of settling timber. Beneath this quiet canopy, life stirs with deliberate grace. Emerging from the shadowed hollow of a temporary daybed, a solitary adult Wolverine stretches its heavy, powerful frame. Measuring over 3 feet from nose to tail tip, the animal is a masterwork of cold climate design. Its dense, dark brown coat, highlighted by a pale gold band sweeping along its flanks, is already thickening into its winter armor. A dense underfur topped with oily guard hairs that shed the morning frost and evening chill alike. With unhurried, purposeful steps, the Wolverine places its broad, heavily padded paws silently upon the thick cushion of green moss. These wide paws act as natural snowshoes when winter arrives, but tonight they simply allow the muscular predator to navigate the complex maze of fallen logs and tangled underbrush without a sound. Every movement is calculated and efficient, perfectly calibrated for survival in the vast northern forest. The evening shadows lengthen, stretching lazily across the mossy ground. Pausing beside a decaying pine trunk, the Wolverine lifts its broad snout to the cool air, tasting the complex chemical tapestry of its territory. The forest holds its breath, serene and timeless, wrapping the solitary traveler in a deep, enveloping peace. The decaying pine trunk offers its first secret, pressing its broad black nose directly against the crumbling, golden brown bark. The Wolverine inhales deeply. Its olfactory bulb, extraordinarily large and complex, processes a rich library of scents invisible to the human world. Beneath the dominant aroma of fresh pine resin and damp earth, a faint, metallic trace lingers within the wood, the unmistakable signature of a cached meal hidden months prior. To reach the prize, Gulo Gulo employs anatomical machinery built for endurance and raw power. Broad, sickle-shaped claws extend from short, muscular toes, effortlessly stripping away decades of accumulated moss and soggy, splintered wood. The jaws, uniquely anchored by a specialized lower jaw articulation, possess crushing force capable of fracturing frozen bone or petrified timber. With deliberate, rhythmic strokes of its heavy forelimbs, the animal tears into the hollow heart of the fallen log. A gentle breeze drifts through the spruce canopy above, rustling remaining needles and carrying the earthy dust away. The Wolverine's rounded ears twitch subtly, isolating the low-frequency vibrations of the forest floor. Every sense remains fully engaged in the quiet pursuit, finding the cache empty save for old bone fragments. The predator pauses, exhaling a warm plume of breath into the cooling air before stepping lightly over the splintered timber. It moves with the quiet confidence of an apex scavenger, seamlessly reading the silent, intricate language of the taiga. Leaving the splintered timber behind, the Wolverine continues its measured progression along a moss-draped ridge. The twilight deepens beneath the spruce boughs, painting the forest floor in soft shades of indigo and slate. Here, navigating the intricate boundaries of its expansive home range requires more than physical presence. It demands an enduring chemical signature that speaks clearly to any passing rival. Pausing beside a prominent lichen-covered pine log that cuts horizontally across the trail, the solitary animal elevates its posture. Beneath the base of its thick tail lie specialized anal glands, ancient evolutionary tools designed for olfactory communication across vast boreal distances. With deliberate precision, the Wolverine deposits a potent secretion onto the raised bark. This complex blend of musky exudates serves as an indelible notice of occupancy, rich with biochemical details regarding the animal's identity, sex, and physiological state. In the stillness of the taiga, this silent message transcends the limitations of sound or sight. The dense, cool air holds the heavy molecules close to the ground, allowing the scent to linger for days, drifting quietly through the pine-scented breeze. It is a vital mechanism of ecosystem spacing, reducing direct conflict among solitary carnivores by defining invisible, respected borders across the rugged terrain. Having reinforced its territorial claim, the adult turns its broad head toward the gathering shadows. A soft, distant stream murmurs through the valley below, blending harmoniously with the rustle of falling needles. The Wolverine shakes its heavy coat lightly, settling back into its unhurried, purposeful stride as the autumn evening embraces the forest. Ahead lies a dense maze of fallen timber and tangled underbrush, a barrier that would stall a less specialized traveler. Yet the Wolverine moves forward with unhurried grace, its morphology finely tuned to the complexities of the taiga. With a powerful, low-slung build supported by short, muscular limbs, the adult effortlessly glides beneath low-hanging spruce boughs and over moss-thickened logs. Every movement is anchored by exceptionally broad paws, which act as natural snowshoes in winter and distribute weight evenly across treacherous, damp forest floors in autumn. The animal's gait is a study in quiet efficiency. Armed with semi-plantigrade feet, the Wolverine places its soles flat upon the earth with each stride, dampening sound as it negotiates the uneven terrain. Long, non-retractable claws, designed primarily for excavation and climbing, scratch lightly against the damp bark of decaying birch, offering secure traction on slick surfaces. The heavy musculature of the shoulder girdle and back imparts immense leverage, allowing the solitary hunter to heave itself over massive obstacles without a wasted motion or a single heavy footfall. As it threads through the labyrinth of debris, the thick, oily underfur and coarse guard hairs part smoothly around branches, preventing moisture and thorns from reaching the skin. There is no rush in these motions, only the steady, rhythmic progression of a creature entirely at home in the rugged wilderness. The gentle wind whispers through the canopy above, and soft footfalls fade softly into the quiet embrace of the mossy earth, carrying the traveler deeper into the darkening woods. Beneath the darkening boughs, the temperature steadily falls, and the Wolverine pauses its steady journey. The rhythmic sounds of the forest, a distant stream murmuring over smooth stones and the gentle whisper of wind through the spruce needles, create a soothing backdrop for the solitary hunter's evening routine. Sinking onto a bed of resilient reindeer moss, the animal begins the vital task of coat maintenance. Long, coarse guard hairs, impervious to moisture, are meticulously combed through with sharp teeth and flexible paws. This specialized fur is a marvel of evolutionary adaptation. The hollow core of each guard hair traps air for supreme insulation, while the natural oils shed the damp chill of the autumn night. The Wolverine works patiently from its shoulders down to the base of its powerful tail, pausing occasionally to clear forest debris and tiny pine needles from the lighter-colored facial mask that frames its dark, perceptive eyes. This deliberate grooming process does more than just maintain thermal efficiency. It relaxes the muscles after hours of sustained foraging and travel. As the last embers of twilight fade from the upper canopy, the heavy-set predator shifts its weight. It nestles deep into a protected crevice beneath the massive, twisting root system of an ancient spruce tree. Curled into a tight, compact ball, the animal places its bushy tail gently over its nose to warm the incoming air. The ambient sounds of the taiga soften into a profound night silence, broken only by the very slow, steady breathing of the resting traveler, completely secure within its hidden woodland sanctuary. Deep within the earthen hollow, the heavy scent of pine resin and damp soil mingles with the Wolverine's own familiar musk. Protected from the cooling drafts of the autumn evening, the animal's body heat begins to warm the confined space of the root shelter. The ancient spruce roots arch overhead like timber rafters, forming a natural fortress that has endured decades of northern weather. Here, sheltered from the open taiga, the high metabolic demands of the solitary predator shift into a state of quiet conservation. The thick, muscular frame relaxes completely against the yielding earth, the broad skull resting comfortably upon curved paws. Outside, the gentle wind continues its slow passage through the higher canopy, but within this hidden nook, the air is still and peaceful. The rhythmic rise and fall of the dense flank settles into a slow, measured cadence. Every breath draws warmth from the trapped air of the specialized guard hairs, sustaining a comfortable microclimate independent of the dropping temperatures outside. In the deepening darkness, the forest falls into total serenity. The distant stream maintains its steady, murmuring song, a soft, natural lullaby echoing through the woodland. Completely secure in its subterranean alcove, the Wolverine surrenders to the restorative stillness of the autumn night, drifting into a profound and dreamless sleep beneath the ancient roots. As the last amber embers of twilight dissolve into the valleys below, darkness claims the high alpine passes. Crisp starlight now blankets the jagged peaks, casting a silvery sheen across fields of stone and scattered patches of lingering autumn snow. The thin air at this elevation is remarkably clear, still, and biting cold, carrying the clean scent of frost and dry granite. Out from the deep shadow of a dwarf pine thicket steps an adult Wolverine. As it moves into the open, its dense, oil-rich guard hairs shimmer slightly under the celestial glow, perfectly adapted to shed moisture and retain warmth in the sub-zero night. This solitary traveler is a master of the high country, built low and powerful for the demanding terrain. The atmosphere of the high altitude is profoundly quiet, broken only by the faint, gentle whisper of air currents brushing against rustling crusts of map lichen on the rock faces. The Wolverine pauses for a brief moment, lifting its broad head. Its dark eyes adjust effortlessly to the starlight, utilizing an exceptional density of rod cells to perceive contrast and movement across the sweeping landscape. Simultaneously, its rounded ears twitch toward a distant, hollow hoot drifting up from the timberline far below. With calm, measured purpose, the animal begins its nightly journey. It steps deliberately across the uneven terrain, each heavy-boned paw finding secure purchase upon the shifting stones. There is no rush in its stride, only the steady, enduring rhythm of a creature entirely at home in the quiet wilderness, stepping forward into the vast expanse of the sleeping mountain range. The mechanics of the wanderer's movement reveal an anatomy exquisitely engineered for the harshest elevations. As the Wolverine presses deeper into the rocky alpine labyrinth, its locomotion becomes a masterclass in biomechanical efficiency. Unlike the delicate footing of slender-legged ungulates, this solitary carnivore relies on broad, semi-plantigrade paws. With each step, the entire sole of the foot meets the stone, distributing the animal's compact weight evenly across treacherous surfaces. This natural snowshoe effect prevents sinking into shifting debris, allowing the traveler to navigate steep talus slopes and loose granite scree with remarkable, unhesitating grace. There is a distinct rhythm to the journey, a characteristic rolling gait born from immense muscular power concentrated in the shoulders and lower back. Every stride is deliberate yet fluid, carrying the body forward with a pendulum-like momentum designed for covering vast territories over many hours without exhaustion. Strong, non-retractile claws scratch softly against the ancient stone, providing traction and stability as the Wolverine scales inclined slabs of bedrock. The rhythmic scrape of bone and claw blends seamlessly with the gentle breeze brushing through the frost-kissed lichens. This tireless pacing is fueled by a specialized metabolism and incredible stamina, forged in a realm where rest is a calculated luxury. Without wasting a single motion, the Wolverine adjusts its heading, its heavy frame shifting easily over obstacles that would halt lesser travelers. Mile after mile, the methodical march continues beneath the quiet starlight, moving through the sleeping wilderness with the quiet assurance of an animal perfectly shaped by the mountain's demanding laws. High upon a windswept granite promontory, the traveler comes to a deliberate halt. The Wolverine anchors its broad paws firmly against the chilled stone and raises its heavy head toward the open sky, sampling the moving air currents. This high-altitude realm is a complex tapestry of invisible chemical messages, and the animal's olfactory system is exquisitely evolved to decode them. Deep within its nasal passages, specialized turbinate bones maximize surface area, allowing the capture of infinitesimal scent particles drifting upward from the shadowy valleys far below. The wind delivers a delicate catalog of the midnight world, the dry, mineral tang of exposed earth, the sweet, resinous breath of distant subalpine conifers, and the fleeting, musky traces of migratory creatures moving through the lower forests. Every breath is an informational update, mapping the vast topography of the nocturnal wilderness without requiring a single visual confirmation. Simultaneously, the Wolverine's environment registers through an equally refined acoustic lens. Its short, rounded ears twitch independently, swiveling to intercept the subtle vibrations traveling across the rugged terrain. It tunes out the monotonous rushing of the crisp air currents and homes in on finer details, the faint rustling of brittle lichen shivering on a distant boulder, and the low, resonant hoot of a territorial owl echoing softly from the timberline. Nothing escapes this dual-layered surveillance. The night is not silent, nor is it empty. It is a rich chorus of sounds and scents that the solitary carnivore processes with calm, unhurried precision. Standing motionless under the scattered starlight, the sentinel absorbs the landscape, its senses anchored entirely in the quiet rhythm of the dark. Continuing its methodical journey along the spine of the high pass, the Wolverine approaches a monumental, lichen-encrusted boulder that juts sharply against the indigo sky. This ancient stone serves as a familiar beacon within a vast, trackless home range. Halting beside the rock, the solitary traveler stretches its muscular frame and prepares to refresh its invisible borders. The animal shifts its weight, raising the base of its tail to press specialized subcaudal and anal glands against the rough, vertical granite. It deposits a potent, oily secretion rich in volatile fatty acids and complex chemical signatures, an enduring message crafted specifically for any conspecifics traveling the same high-altitude corridor. In the expansive territories of the Alpine, where home ranges span hundreds of square miles, direct encounters between solitary rivals are rare and energetically costly. Instead, these durable scent marks act as silent sentinels, communicating occupancy, sex, and physiological status across days or even weeks. This sophisticated form of chemical landscaping maintains peaceful ecological spacing without the need for physical confrontation. The potent exudate clings tenaciously to the porous stone, protected from the scouring effects of the wind by the boulder's lee side. Once the transaction is complete, the Wolverine draws in one final, thorough breath to confirm the application, lowering its tail with unhurried grace. Satisfied that its domain remains clearly defined under the starlit canopy, the broad-shouldered wanderer pivots smoothly on its semi-plantigrade pads, stepping away from the marker stone to resume its steady, solitary patrol through the hushed and tranquil night. As the starlit hours stretch onward, the temperature upon the high ridge dips noticeably, whispering a soft reminder of the approaching dawn. Seeking shelter from a mild nocturnal breeze, the Wolverine navigates toward the lee side of a massive granite outcrop. Here, protected from the brisk air currents, it finds a small, sandy depression nestled against the sun-warmed stone, which still retains a trace of daytime heat. To optimize energy conservation, a vital adaptation for surviving the harsh scarcities of the northern autumn, the solitary traveler curls its powerful, muscular body into a tight, compact shape. It tucks its broad head inward and wraps its thick, bushy tail completely around its face. This natural posture creates a protective microclimate, sheltering sensitive nostrils from the cold air while trapping exhaled warmth. Slowly, the exertion of the long nocturnal trek melts away. The Wolverine's respiration deepens and slows into a steady, rhythmic pattern, perfectly harmonizing with the profound silence of the high alpine wilderness. Against the dark backdrop of the mountain, its chest rises and falls in an unhurried cadence. Every muscle relaxes, allowing the dense winter underfur to loft and trap insulating layers of air against the skin. In this serene sanctuary of stone and starlight, the relentless patrol pauses. There is only the gentle sigh of the wind drifting far overhead, the faint rustle of dry lichen clinging to neighboring rocks, and the peaceful, restorative rest of a creature completely attuned to the rhythms of the rugged earth. As the deep hours of the night begin to soften, a subtle shift touches the eastern horizon. The brilliant starlight dims just fractionally, yielding to a pale, slate blue promise of the approaching dawn. Within the sheltered hollow of the granite outcrop, the Wolverine stirs. Its respiration shifts, deepening slightly as the nervous system transitions from restorative sleep to waking alertness. Slowly, the solitary traveler uncoils its powerful frame. It stretches first one muscular forelimb, extending broad paws with semi-retractable claws that skim the sandy earth, then arches its spine in a long, fluid motion. A quick, vigorous shake ripples through the dense, dark coat, sending a cascade of dry dust and loose grit pattering softly against the stone. Energy conservation successfully achieved. The animal's core temperature is stable, and its stamina is fully renewed for the remaining hours of darkness. Stepping out from the lee of the rock, the Wolverine rejoins the high pass. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of frost and distant spruce, and the terrain stretches out ahead in quiet shades of gray and silver. With measured grace, the Wolverine resumes its tireless locomotion. There is no rush in its gait, only the steady, rhythmic swing of heavy limbs traversing the talus. Each step is placed with quiet deliberation, a seamless continuation of the nocturnal patrol across the vast, sleeping mountain range. The landscape remains hushed, waiting in stillness as the traveler melts further into the sprawling shadows of the fading night. High above the timberline, in the velvet quiet of the pre-dawn hours, the mountain slopes hold their breath. Out of the heavy autumn sky, the season's first gentle flurries begin to drift downward, painting the jagged peaks in hushed tones of white. Each soft snowflake settles delicately onto the granite and the fading gold of alpine grasses, whispering of the long, frozen dominion soon to arrive. Tucked deeply within a sheltered alcove of fractured stone, an adult Wolverine stirs. For weeks, the animal has weathered the biting winds of late autumn, its body undergoing profound physiological transformations to meet the bitter cold. As the ambient temperature dips well below freezing, a slow, deliberate yawn breaks the stillness. The Wolverine shifts its powerful, compact frame, stretching muscles conditioned by relentless endurance across unforgiving terrain. Deep inside its den, the quiet majesty of biological design goes to work. The Wolverine's coat, a marvel of evolutionary thermoregulation, begins to react to the shifting air. Unlike the hollow fur of many other northern mammals, the Wolverine possesses a dense, oil-rich thatch of underfur capped by exceptionally long, thick guard hairs. These specialized hydrophobic fibers are entirely impervious to frost. Moisture simply cannot cling to them. As the animal shakes its broad head and powerful shoulders, a fine cascade of ice crystals and powdery snow falls away from its back, leaving the fur completely dry beneath. No body heat escapes this impenetrable barrier. With a final, soothing sweep of its tongue across a frost-dusted paw, the Wolverine prepares to face the morning, perfectly insulated and quietly at home in the gathering storm. To truly understand how the Wolverine thrives where other predators falter, one must look closer at this remarkable biological armor. The secret lies in a dual-layered system refined over millennia of glacial survival. Beneath the long, coarse outer guard hairs rests a dense, subterranean mat of crimped underfur. This inner layer traps microscopic pockets of air against the skin, creating a thermal barrier so efficient that body heat is entirely contained, refusing to melt the snow that settles upon the animal's back. The outer guard hairs play an equally vital role. Imbued with natural oils produced by specialized sebaceous glands, these fibers completely repel moisture. When freezing mist or wet flurries descend upon the high passes, the precipitation encounters an impenetrable, oil-slick surface. Water droplets cannot penetrate the cuticle, and frost simply slides away without bonding to the shaft. With a low, contented rumble in its chest, the Wolverine stands fully upright in the dim light. It gives its compact body another thorough, rolling shiver. A fine cloud of powdery crystals lifts into the still, frosty air, sparkling briefly in the pale dawn before settling softly onto the snow below. The coat remains bone dry, a masterclass in thermoregulation that allows the creature to plunge through deep drifts and freezing torrents without ever risking fatal core temperature loss. Protected by this ancient, weatherproof shield, the solitary traveler turns its gaze toward the open ridge, ready to cross the quiet, frosted expanse of its mountain realm. Stepping out from the rocky shelter, the Wolverine emerges onto the spine of the elevated ridgeline. Here, where the mountain meets the pale morning sky, the wind carries a sharper edge, yet the solitary traveler presses onward with an unhurried, measured cadence. Its locomotion is defined by a characteristic steady loping gait, a rhythmic bounding stride that looks effortless across the uneven terrain. This persistent movement is powered by large, semi-plantigrade feet. By placing both heel and toe firmly on the ground with each step, the Wolverine distributes its weight across a remarkably wide surface area. In the fresh dusting of powder, these broad paws act much like natural snowshoes, preventing the animal from sinking deep into the drifts. Instead, it seems to float lightly over the surface, leaving a trail of wide, distinct prints that mark its passage along the frozen heights. This efficient biomechanical design allows the adult to cover immense vertical distances hour after hour, tracking across shale, ice, and newly formed snow without expending excessive metabolic energy. As it moves, the gentle, muffled sound of falling snow blankets the high valleys below, absorbing the echoes of the wilderness. The world grows profoundly still. Only the soft scuff of paws against frozen turf and the quiet exhalation of warm breath into the crisp air punctuate the stillness. Bathed in the first delicate light of dawn, The ridges glow in shades of silver and blue. The Wolverine follows the contour of the slope, a steadfast silhouette navigating the vast, serene heights with quiet grace. A towering granite boulder, frosted with a delicate crest of new snow, arrests the traveler's steady advance. The Wolverine halts beside the ancient stone, anchoring its broad paws firmly against the frozen ground. This silent sentinel of the Alpine serves as a crucial intersection in the animal's vast, overlapping home range, a sprawling territory that spans hundreds of square miles of rugged peaks and deep timbered valleys. Reaching toward the base of the rock, the adult leans forward and presses specialized subcaudal and anal glands against the rough, lichen-dusted surface. It deposits a potent, musky secretion rich in volatile chemical compounds. This complex olfactory signature carries a wealth of precise biological data: the animal's identity, its physiological condition, and its current reproductive status. In the frigid, sub-zero air of late autumn, these chemical markers crystallize and endure with remarkable longevity. The cold suppresses bacterial degradation, allowing the greasy, tenacious secretions to linger for days, weeks, or even months on end. To the Wolverine, the landscape is an intricate, invisible tapestry of scents. As other solitary travelers traverse these high passes, their sensitive noses detect the residual musk long before they spot the physical boundaries. This silent chemical communication maintains a wide expanse of personal space, minimizing direct, potentially costly physical conflicts among sparse regional populations. By refreshing these markers along elevated, wind-swept ridges where airborne currents carry the scent farthest, the adult quietly anchors its claim to the high country. Satisfied with the renewed boundary, the Wolverine turns its head toward the horizon, exhaling a soft plume of mist before resuming its unhurried journey across the pristine snow. Ahead lies the high mountain saddle, where the shifting autumn winds have gathered the season's first significant drifts. Fresh, powdery snow sweeps across the depression in soft, undulating waves, creating a pristine white expanse that would trap and exhaust a lesser traveler. Yet the Wolverine moves forward without hesitation, stepping gracefully onto the deep accumulation. Here, the animal's remarkable biomechanical design reveals its true mastery of the deep snow. The Wolverine possesses exceptionally large, broad paws relative to its compact, muscular frame. As each footfall lands upon the delicate surface, these wide, splayed toes function as natural snowshoes. They dramatically increase surface area and distribute the animal's body weight evenly across the powdery crystals. Instead of plunging deep into the drift, the Wolverine rides lightly upon the crust, leaving only shallow, distinct impressions in its wake. This specialized morphology transforms what should be a grueling struggle into an effortless passage. While slender-legged predators flounder in the shifting drifts, the Wolverine glides across the transitional landscape with quiet, energy-conserving grace. Every muscle relaxes into a steady, rhythmic cadence, perfectly attuned to the demands of the freezing heights. The body's internal furnace generates a gentle, steady warmth that radiates outward, perfectly balanced against the ambient chill. There is no rush, no wasted effort, only the smooth and continuous momentum of a creature designed for the snowfields. It is a seamless crossing, bridging the fading warmth of autumn and the quiet, enduring dominion of the high alpine winter. As the morning light slowly filters over the jagged peaks, the low sun casts a pale, golden amber across the snow-dusted valleys below. The Wolverine pauses at the crest of the pass, turning its broad head to survey the vast, silent domain. Overnight, the fleeting colors of autumn have vanished beneath a blanket of pure, untouched white. The northern freeze has officially claimed the high alpine, sealing the earth in a quiet, enduring stillness. In this hushed realm, the Wolverine stands as an emblem of resilience. Its thick, multi-layered pelage catches the pale morning rays, shimmering softly against the frost. The specialized guard hairs, impervious to moisture, shed the last lingering touch of the storm without a single drop penetrating to the warm underfur. Having completed its sweeping patrol, the animal feels the gentle tug of fatigue settling deep into its powerful muscles. Drifting snow begins to swirl once more in the light air. Whispering softly against the granite stone, the Wolverine turns away from the wind, seeking the sheltered lee of a massive boulder where ancient roots form a snug, protected crevice. Slipping inside, it curls its compact body into a tight, efficient circle, tucking its bushy tail neatly over its sensitive nose to create a warm pocket of recycled air. The steady, slow beat of its heart matches the tranquil rhythm of the sleeping mountains. Outside, the great winter has arrived, and wrapped in its own biological perfection, the Wolverine surrenders to the deep, restorative peace of the snowbound night. The northern taiga has surrendered entirely to the deep freeze. Across thousands of miles of ancient boreal forest, peak winter has laid down a heavy, silent blanket of snow. Flake by flake, the relentless storms of the past week have buried the rocky outcrops, choked the narrow ravines, and pillowed the drooping branches of old-growth spruce and fir. Here, the landscape is rendered in stark, quiet contrast, a monochromatic world of blinding white drifts and long, violet shadows stretching beneath the canopy. In this frozen sanctuary, the ambient sounds of the living world are muffled, hushed by the sheer volume of accumulated moisture. A gentle hiss of falling powder occasionally whispers through the stillness, joined by the slow, settling creak of ancient pine trunks shifting beneath the growing weight of ice. A light breeze moves through the upper boughs, but down near the forest floor, the air is still, holding the crisp, pristine chill of the sub-zero afternoon. This deep snowpack, often spanning several feet in depth, acts as an impenetrable barrier for most woodland inhabitants. Deer and smaller mammals flounder in the loose, powdery accumulation, expending precious heat and energy just to move a few body lengths. Yet beneath the low-angled glare of the late afternoon sun, the heavy forest remains profoundly still. The bitter cold solidifies the surface crust, sealing the earth in a dormant slumber. It is an environment of extreme challenge, demanding specialized survival strategies from every creature that calls the northern wilderness home, setting the stage for the few resilient master architects of the snow to begin their nocturnal patrol. Where other forest dwellers find only exhaustion in the powdery depths, the adult Wolverine moves with effortless grace, sustained by a remarkable anatomical design. The secret to this frictionless travel lies entirely within its broad, heavily padded paws. Unlike the slender legs and compact feet of competing predators, which sink deeply into the unstable crystals, the Wolverine's feet are exceptionally large in proportion to its muscular body. These massive, five-toed paws function as natural, biological snowshoes. As the animal shifts its weight forward, the wide pads spread outward, dramatically increasing the surface area in contact with the snowpack. This clever distribution of body mass reduces foot-loading pressure to a fraction of what a similarly sized mammal would experience. Instead of plunging into the freezing powder, the Wolverine stays near the surface, gliding across the delicate crust of the drifts with a steady, rocking rhythm. Long, curved claws, designed primarily for digging and climbing, remain partially retracted during transit, avoiding unnecessary drag. Beneath the fur, the wide toes are densely fringed with stiff, bristled hairs that provide additional traction on frozen crusts, preventing any accidental slips as the animal navigates sloping terrain. Every stride is a masterclass in biomechanical efficiency. By resting its weight evenly across the powdery expanse, the Wolverine conserves vital core warmth and precious caloric energy. There is no wasted motion, no frantic struggle against the cold white traps below. It simply floats across the formidable winter landscape, perfectly evolved to conquer the deepest snows the boreal forest can offer. As the Wolverine emerges from the shadow of the dense evergreen canopy, the late afternoon sun hangs low on the southern horizon. Its dying golden rays strike the endless white expanse of a frozen beaver meadow, igniting the surface in a brilliant, blinding glare. Millions of microscopic ice crystals, resting delicately atop the deep snowpack, act as tiny prisms. They catch the slanted light and scatter it in every direction, transforming the clearing into a shimmering field of diamond dust. This intense alpine reflection creates a stark, beautiful contrast within the boreal forest. The dark silhouettes of ancient black spruce trees stretch long, indigo shadows across the drifts, while the open snow glows with a fierce, ethereal luminescence. Through this dazzling sea of light, the solitary tracks of the adult Wolverine tell a quiet story of passage. Each imprint is shallow and crisp, pressed firmly into the frozen crust without the messy, exhausting craters left by heavier mammals. The low-angled sunlight warms the air just enough to cause micro-melting on the surface crystals, which the approaching evening will instantly freeze into a glittering, glassy glaze. Yet, the animal's dark, dense coat absorbs the harsh glare without discomfort, its specialized guard hairs deflecting the intense ultraviolet light bouncing off the drifts. As it pauses at the edge of the clearing to survey the frozen ridge ahead, the Wolverine squints slightly against the brilliance. The landscape stretches out infinitely in shades of blinding white and deep indigo, quiet and still under the fading warmth of the winter day. Setting off once more, the Wolverine settles into a steady, measured rhythm. Its travel is an exercise in pure kinetic efficiency, honed by millennia of evolutionary pressure in the unforgiving north. Unlike predators built for sudden, explosive bursts of speed, this solitary traveler relies on an enduring, tireless gait. It moves with a characteristic bounding walk, its spine flexing and extending in a smooth, undulating wave that minimizes vertical displacement and conserves precious calories. Every stride covers ground with quiet purpose. The broad paws lift and place with metronomic precision, leaving a neat, even trail across the unbroken wilderness. There is no wasted motion, no frantic scrambling through the powdery depths. Instead, the animal utilizes the underlying density of the packed snow, riding gently atop the drifts as it crosses miles of rugged terrain. This specialized locomotion prevents metabolic exhaustion, a vital survival strategy when food is scarce and every ounce of fat must be guarded against the cold. As it crests a low, rounded hill, the rhythmic crunch of its footfalls provides a soft, grounding cadence against the hush of the woods. The vast territory stretches endlessly before it, a quiet expanse of rolling white and shadow. Maintaining this unhurried pace, the Wolverine continues its nocturnal patrol, drifting deeper into the shelter of the darkening pines with a calm, steady momentum. High upon the ridge, the wind picks up, sweeping powdery crystals across the frozen crust. The ambient temperature plunges rapidly toward the negative extremes of the northern winter, yet the traveler remains entirely undisturbed by the biting draft. This resilience is rooted in an extraordinary biological coat, meticulously designed for life in the deep freeze. Long, coarse guard hairs form the outermost defense, creating an impermeable canopy over the dense underfur. These specialized hairs possess a unique physiological property. They are non-conductive and shed moisture effortlessly. When frost and blowing snow settle onto the back, they never melt against the skin. Instead, the ice beads up and brushes away cleanly, preventing any moisture from penetrating to the dermis where it could steal vital body heat. Beneath this glossy outer shield lies a dense, oily down layer, trapping a thick cushion of warm air close to the skin. This trapped air acts as a high-efficiency thermal blanket, insulating the body against the sub-zero environment. Even the broad ears, the muzzle, and the soles of the wide paws are densely furred, guarding every vulnerable point against frostbite. As the wind howls through the swaying pines, the Wolverine pauses on the ridge, turning its face directly into the glacial gust. There is no shiver, no reflexive huddling for warmth. Its internal furnace, fueled by a high-fat diet and a slow, steady metabolic baseline, maintains a stable core temperature despite the plummeting mercury. Resting for a brief moment, the heavy coat settles completely, sealing out the frost with silent, effortless perfection. High above the darkening floor of the forest, the low afternoon light dissolves from brilliant gold into a wash of deep, cobalt blue. The intense glare of the late day surrenders quietly to the stillness of evening, casting long, indigo shadows across the untouched drifts. As the sun slips entirely below the horizon, the ambient temperature plunges further, stripping the last lingering warmth from the air. This abrupt drop in temperature initiates a chemical transformation within the loose powder. The surface crystals fuse together, hardening into a crisp, glassy crust that whispers softly under the slightest touch. The Wolverine pauses at the edge of a frozen stream, its dark silhouette merging seamlessly with the gathering dusk. The active travel of the afternoon slows, giving way to a deliberate conservation of energy. There is no need for further movement tonight. Finding a sheltered hollow beneath the sweeping boughs of an ancient spruce, the animal curls its muscular body into a tight, compact sphere. The broad, furred tail sweeps gracefully over its nose, filtering the freezing air before it reaches the lungs, while the high-efficiency thermal coat seals completely against the frost. All around, the boreal forest exhales into the night. The muffled wind dies down to a gentle sigh through the pine needles, and the distant creak of frozen timber echoes through the quiet solitude. Deep beneath the snowpack, the ecosystem rests, wrapped in the profound, undisturbed peace of the northern winter. The Wolverine breathes slowly, its steady heartbeat harmonizing with the hushed wilderness, perfectly insulated against the cold, waiting for the dawn, high above the frozen valleys. Where the earth curves away from the sun's fading warmth, the Arctic sky undergoes a slow, breathtaking transformation. The low winter sun dips below the jagged horizon, extinguishing the last glaring rays of daylight and replacing them with a profound, muted glow. Across the uninterrupted snowfields of the high ridge, soft bands of rose pink, lavender, and pale, powdery blue stretch in endless, tranquil gradients. In this realm of perpetual frost, sunlight travels obliquely through a dense atmosphere laden with microscopic ice crystals, diffusing the light into a pastel dreamscape. Shadows stretch long and indigo across the drifts, utterly still and deep. The air is remarkably dry and biting, hovering far below zero, yet there is a profound, meditative stillness that settles over the tundra. It is an ecosystem resting in suspended animation, wrapped in the quiet peace of polar twilight. Far down in the valley, the first whispered tendrils of a gentle wind brush against the crust of the snow, creating a soft, rustling hiss like falling sand. A distant gust hums faintly through the needles of stunted black spruce, swallowed entirely by the vast expanse of white. Every sound is muffled, absorbed by the heavy, insulating layers of fresh powder. The world holds its breath as the colors in the sky begin to deepen, bleeding slowly from lavender into the quiet, velvety indigo of an approaching Arctic night. Out of the violet shadows of the lower slope, a solitary figure emerges onto the crest of the wind-scoured ridge. Framed against the luminous pastel sky, the stocky predator cuts a striking silhouette of dark, impenetrable fur. Every contour of its muscular frame is outlined by the fading amber embers caught on the highest rim of the earth. With measured, deliberate steps, the mature Wolverine moves across the hardened crust of packed powder. It sinks not an inch. Broad paws, acting as natural snowshoes, distribute its weight effortlessly across the brittle surface. There is an economy of motion here. a profound physical discipline perfected over countless generations of Arctic survival. Every stride is purposeful, conserving vital energy in a biosphere where calories are scarce and the cold demands a relentless metabolic tax. Pausing near the apex of the drift, the animal halts. Its broad head lifts, catching the thin, drifting currents of the evening air. The sweeping panorama of the frozen valley stretches out below, a vast, silent basin of blue-gray shadows and untouched drifts. For a quiet moment, the Wolverine stands motionless, etched against the breathtaking expanse of the polar twilight, blending seamlessly into the timeless, frozen rhythms of the northern wild. To survive the unforgiving breath of an Arctic night, nature has crafted one of the most effective thermal designs on the planet. As the ambient temperature plummets toward the -50s, the Wolverine is encased in a multi-layered shield of remarkable biological engineering. At the surface lies a dense thatch of coarse, glossy guard hairs, stretching long over a rich, exceptionally thick underfur. This specialized armor possesses a unique physiological property. It is entirely non-absorbent. When gentle flurries of fine snow drift across the ridge, the moisture simply rolls off the oily shafts rather than melting against the skin. Frost cannot take hold here. The ice crystals form harmlessly on the tips of the fur, shaken away by a casual shudder, leaving the underlayers completely dry. Beneath this outer defense, the dense woolly underfur traps a vital pocket of air close to the skin. This trapped air is warmed continuously by the body's gentle metabolic furnace, creating an impenetrable thermal barrier against the sub-zero chill. Even the ears and the broad, powerful paws are densely furred, minimizing heat loss in areas most vulnerable to the frost. It is a marvel of evolutionary design. Walking through a world where the wind bites with crystalline teeth, the animal remains warm, buoyant, and entirely protected. The bitter cold laps against the exterior, yet within the sanctuary of this remarkable coat, a steady, quiet warmth prevails, perfectly attuned to the frozen rhythms of the northern wild. A few yards further along the wind-scoured spine of the ridge, a protruding granite boulder breaks the endless sea of white. To the human eye, the massive rock is simply another frozen landmark in a monochromatic world. To the Wolverine, it is an essential page in an invisible, aromatic map that stretches across hundreds of square miles of untamed wilderness. The adult pauses beside the dark stone, enveloped by the muffled silence of the gathering dusk. With deliberate, measured grace, the animal shifts its weight. From specialized subcaudal glands located near the base of the tail, it releases a potent, musky secretion, pressing it firmly against the rough, lichen-dusted granite. This silent communication transcends the visual quiet of the polar twilight. In the bone-dry, sub-zero air, volatile organic compounds bond securely to the cold stone. This frozen message will endure for weeks, defying the gentle wind and drifting snowfall to broadcast a clear, unyielding claim to the territory. It is a vital chemical beacon, whispering warnings to potential rivals and signaling presence across the vast, empty expanse. The scent lingers in the crisp air, mingling with the scent of old snow and distant spruce. Having reinforced the boundaries of its domain, the mature predator lifts its head once more. The amber eyes scan the sprawling, pastel-hued valleys below, ensuring all is quiet within the realm, before resuming its steady, unhurried march toward the gathering night. Leaving the granite sentinel behind, the Wolverine continues its measured descent down the flank of the ridge. The evening wind is beginning to sharpen, carrying the first sharp bite of true polar night across the open snowfields. Every movement remains an exercise in deliberate economy of effort, a vital conservation strategy when metabolic energy is exceptionally precious. Ahead lies the lee of a massive snow-laden drift, sheltered from the sweeping gusts. Here, the drifting snow has carved a quiet microhabitat, a pocket of absolute stillness hidden away from the ambient sounds of distant gusts rattling through distant valley pines. Plunging forward, the animal drops below the crest where the packed powder offers a deeper, insulating blanket. The dense underfur trapped beneath long, frost-resistant guard hairs locks in precious body warmth as the ambient temperature plummets toward the -50s. No moisture can penetrate this remarkable shield. Every hair is specially adapted to shed rime and ice. Sinking into the soft powder behind the drift, the Wolverine begins to carve out a secure, temporary hollow. Large, snowshoe-like paws sweep the powdery crystals aside with rhythmic, practiced ease, fashioning a shallow depression safe from the biting draft. The profound silence of the frozen wilderness settles completely overhead, broken only by the gentle, whispering hiss of fresh snowfall settling softly against the crust. Finding absolute peace in the hollow of the earth, the solitary hunter prepares to rest. Sensing the deep drop in temperature as the last amber trace of twilight fades from the horizon, the mature Wolverine begins to settle for the long polar night. Overhead, the velvet sky deepens to a rich indigo, and the first bright stars of the Arctic winter flicker into quiet existence. Within the sheltered curve of the snowbank, the animal curls its muscular body into a tight, compact sphere. This deliberate posture is a masterclass in thermodynamic efficiency. By bringing its core into a ball, the Wolverine minimizes its exposed surface area, drastically reducing the rate of heat loss to the freezing air. Slowly, methodically, it tucks its broad nose precisely beneath the thick, plumose tail. This natural scarf acts as a vital heat exchanger, warming the frigid air of the inhale before it reaches the delicate lungs. The dense, frost-proof guard hairs settle over the entire frame like a heavy, quilted blanket, sealing in the radiant warmth generated by a slow, steady metabolism. As the silence of the midnight world deepens, the rhythmic sound of soft breathing joins the whispers of the gentle wind sweeping harmlessly overhead. Every muscle relaxes, releasing the quiet tensions of the hunt into the yielding snow below. Wrapped in layers of specialized fur and cradled by the frozen earth, the solitary hunter slips into a deep, restorative slumber, drifting peacefully into the heart of the polar night. High above the sub-zero spruce taiga, ribbons of pale green and violet light drift silently across the star-studded expanse of the polar night. The aurora borealis paints the frozen wilderness in an ethereal glow, casting long, indigo shadows across undulating drifts of pristine snow. The atmosphere is suspended in a profound, crystalline stillness, broken only by the faint, gossamer rustle of a gentle wind whispering through needle-laden boughs. Far away, the deep, resonant echo of distant ice cracking across a hidden forest lake reverberates through the heavy, freezing air. In this hushed domain, winter is not merely a season, but an absolute state of being. The thermometer plunges far below zero, where every breath freezes instantly into diamond dust. Yet beneath the celestial display, the northern forest remains a sanctuary of quiet resilience. The ambient sounds are muted and soft, the muffled whisper of fresh snowfall settling upon heavy branches, and the subtle, crackling hiss of the northern lights overhead, a rare acoustic phenomenon born of charged solar particles brushing the upper stratosphere. Here, the world slows to a restorative pace. The darkness is vast and deep, blanketing the ancient landscape in an inviting, heavy blanket of cold tranquility. Underneath the shimmering curtains of the auroral sky, the wilderness rests, waiting for the silent rhythm of life to unfold across the frozen floor. To endure the relentless chill of the taiga, the Wolverine wears a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. Its coat is a marvel of thermal armor, perfectly designed for the harshest northern extremes. Beneath the surface lies a dense, woolly undercoat that traps a microscopic layer of stagnant air, holding body heat close to the skin with incredible efficiency. This internal furnace is sealed by a heavy thatch of glossy, oil-rich guard hairs that measure several inches in length. These coarse, specialized fibers possess a unique physical property. They are entirely hydrophobic. As the animal exhales in the sub-zero air, its warm breath condenses instantly. On lesser creatures, this moisture would freeze into a jacket of debilitating ice. But the Wolverine's guard hairs naturally repel frost, preventing ice crystals from clinging to its fur and weighing it down. The moisture simply rolls off, leaving the coat completely dry and unimpeded. Even the paws are outfitted for this frozen realm. Broad, heavily furred footpads act as natural snowshoes, distributing weight evenly across fragile drifts while trapping insulating air beneath each step. This remarkable physiological design ensures that no matter how low the thermometer drops, or how fiercely the winter wind blows, the Wolverine remains cocooned in its own warmth. It is a profound symbiosis between anatomy and environment, allowing the solitary wanderer to move through the freezing dark with effortless grace, wrapped in a fortress of natural insulation that turns the bitterest cold into a manageable, silent slumber. Stopping beneath the sprawling boughs of an ancient spruce, the Wolverine turns its attention from travel to shelter. The midnight air bites with a crisp, numbing severity, prompting a shift in behavior perfected over countless generations. Here, where deep drifts have accumulated against the trunk, the animal begins to carve its sanctuary. With rhythmic, deliberate sweeps, it uses its broad, snowshoe-like paws to shovel away the loose surface powder. Its powerful forelimbs and muscular shoulders work in steady unison, tunneling downward into the dense, packed layers of older snow. It burrows deeper, hollowing out a snug, horizontal trench just beneath the surface crust. This architectural feat harnesses the thermodynamic properties of snow. Trapped air pockets within the drift act as a secondary blanket, insulating the interior from the bitter wind scouring the taiga above. Wriggling entirely inside, the Wolverine turns around to settle comfortably within the narrow confines of its self-made burrow. The snow walls close in softly around its thick coat, sealing out the drafty chill of the open forest. Under the silent, shimmering green sweep of the aurora, the creature curls its nose neatly beneath its bushy tail, tucking every exposed extremity away from the frost. Inside this quiet, frost-lined alcove, the ambient temperature rises just a fraction above the frozen expanse outside, providing the ideal microclimate for rest. The frantic energy of the hunt fades completely away, replaced by the heavy, soothing stillness of the deep drift. Here, cocooned in darkness and snow, the solitary wanderer yields to the long, peaceful hours of the Arctic night. Within the quiet cocoon of the snow trench, a profound physiological shift takes place. To survive the unforgiving expanse of the northern winter, this solitary mustelid relies on precise metabolic strategies finely tuned by evolution. As the hours tick onward beneath the frozen taiga, the Wolverine subtly lowers its internal activity levels, entering a state of controlled dormancy. Its heart rate slows, and the frantic pace of the hunt dissolves into a gentle, measured cadence. This metabolic downregulation is a masterclass in energy conservation, allowing the predator to ration its vital fat reserves through the leanest, coldest hours of the year. Every breath becomes deeper and more deliberate, reducing heat loss through the respiratory tract and minimizing the need for constant foraging in the deep freeze. The body temperature adjusts to a sustainable baseline, perfectly harmonizing with the microclimate of the drift. Surrendered to this restorative stillness, the heavy, steady rhythm of respiration fills the tiny snow chamber. Outside, the distant cracking of ancient river ice echoes faintly through the spruce forest, accompanied by the whisper of gentle winds and the faint, crackling hiss of the aurora above. Untouched by the biting cold, the animal rests in total security, its slow, rhythmic breathing dissolving into the vast, silent peace of the Arctic night. In the absolute hush of the snow chamber, time loses its sharp edges. Curled tightly into a compact circle, the Wolverine presses its nose gently against its tail, tucking its extremities inward to minimize surface area and preserve every precious calorie. This quintessential mammalian resting posture reduces heat dissipation, working in tandem with the thick, oil-rich underfur that traps a pocket of warm air directly against the skin. Outside this drifted sanctuary, the gentle wind brushes the tips of the heavy spruce boughs, while muffled snowfall adds layer upon soft layer to the ceiling above. The ambient temperature outside plunges toward the extreme lows of the taiga, yet within the microenvironment of the trench, the air remains stable and protected. The Wolverine's steady respiration creates a warm, invisible plume that gently circulates within the tiny cavern, its rhythm slow and predictable. Inhale, exhale. The rise and fall of the muscular ribcage is barely perceptible, a visual echo of the quietude blanketing the forest floor. Sensory input fades to a soothing minimum. The faint, crackling hiss of the aurora borealis overhead and the distant, muffled cracking of deep river ice blend into a continuous, lulling hum of the wilderness. Neuronal activity drifts toward sleep, allowing the central nervous system to repair and restore tissues weary from traversing miles of jagged terrain. There is no urgency here, only the deep, instinctual peace of a creature perfectly adapted to the harshest rhythms of the earth. Enveloped in total darkness and absolute warmth, the solitary guardian of the north drifts deeper into restorative slumber, held safely within the tranquil heart of the endless winter night. Hours dissolve into the patient machinery of the deep night. High above the sleeping taiga, the luminous curtains of green and violet slowly soften, their celestial dance dimming as the long hours march steadily toward the hidden boundary of dawn. The auroral fires yield to a velvety indigo, bathing the snowy wilderness in a subtler, silvered quiet. Inside the drifted snow chamber, the Wolverine remains utterly motionless. Its metabolic rate hovers at a baseline minimum, conserving every joule of energy stored within its robust frame. The thick coat of guard hairs and dense underfur continues to perform its silent alchemy, insulating the resting body against the unrelenting frost just inches away. Every physiological system slows in harmonious concert with the slumbering forest, prioritizing restoration and cellular recovery during this profound midnight stillness. A subtle shift whispers through the atmosphere. The gentle wind stills entirely, and the distant cracking of the frozen river fades into a distant memory. A soft, imperceptible lightening touches the eastern horizon, painting the very tips of the towering spruce trees with a faint promise of morning twilight. Yet, within the warm, protective embrace of the snow trench, the solitary animal remains deep in restorative rest. Its rhythmic respiration continues, slow and steady, perfectly attuned to the peaceful, unhurried cadence of the northern winter. The heavy silence holds the world in a tender pause, wrapping the sleeping guardian in a blanket of absolute peace as the longest night quietly breathes its way toward the new day. High in the sprawling, frozen amphitheater of the glacial cirque, the world has fallen into a profound, crystalline stillness. Deep beneath a heavy mantle of undisturbed snow, winter reigns in absolute silence. Towering granite walls, frosted with ancient rime ice, cradle a landscape buried under meters of insulating powder. Here, sheltered from the scouring gales of the high alpine ridges, the temperature plummets toward the coldest hours of the pre-dawn. Within a self-excavated alcove hollowed deep against a boulder face, an aging Wolverine rests. Years of traversing these unforgiving heights have etched endurance into his broad frame. Now, in the quiet autumn of his life, his thick, frost-tipped coat serves as a masterclass in winter ecology. The specialized guard hairs, coarse, hollow, and water-repellent, trap a dense layer of insulating air against his skin, effectively sealing out the sub-zero void just inches beyond his makeshift burrow. Curled tightly upon himself, the solitary male forms a compact, efficient sphere. Every contour of his body is designed for the ultimate conservation of core metabolic energy. His nose is tucked gently beneath his broad tail, breathing in the warmed air trapped within his fur, while his thick paws shield his sensitive muzzle from the chill. In this subterranean sanctuary, senescence is met not with struggle, but with profound adaptation. The deep snow acts as a thermal blanket, maintaining a stable microclimate far more forgiving than the biting winds howling above. As the hours tick slowly toward dawn, the Wolverine remains utterly motionless, a silent fixture of the frozen earth, wrapped entirely in the peaceful, heavy security of the snow. Within the hushed intimacy of the snow alcove, time slows to the rhythm of a steady, measured heartbeat. The mature mustelid breathes in a long, deliberate cadence, pulling in the chilled air and warming it deep within his chest before releasing it in a faint, plume-like mist. This slow respiration is a masterclass in physiological conservation, an evolutionary art honed over countless winters of scarcity and frost. For an aging animal, minimizing energy expenditure is the ultimate key to survival. With every unhurried inhalation, his metabolic rate dips subtly, entering a state of controlled quiescence. His internal furnace burns at a low, efficient simmer, drawing upon the dense fat reserves accumulated during the brief autumn bounty. Decades of navigating the punishing northern wilderness have taught his body precisely how to allocate every calorie, bypassing needless movement in favor of profound stillness. His thick, multi-layered fur rises and falls with hypnotic regularity against the compressed white walls of his subterranean refuge. Thermoregulation here requires almost no active effort. The deep snow blanket maintains a stable microclimate, cradling his frame against the thermal drain of the freezing night. His heart rate slows further, echoing the profound tranquility of the glacial cirque outside. There is no waste, no nervous tension, only the pure, restorative economy of rest. In this quiet state of metabolic grace, the Wolverine drifts deeper into the dark, peaceful hours, perfectly attuned to the silent pulse of the winter world. Outside the protective lip of the alcove, the high alpine world speaks in a subtle, esoteric language of frost and stone. The winter night holds its breath, yet the frozen landscape is never truly silent. High above, across the sweeping expanse of the glacial cirque, a deep, heavy snowpack slowly shifts under its own immense weight. A microscopic fracture propagates through compressed layers of ancient fern, sending a low-frequency groan through the bedrock, a vibration too subtle for human ears, but instantly registered by the mature mustelid. His auditory acuity, refined by a lifetime of solitary hunting in gale-swept peaks, remains remarkably sharp despite his advanced years. Beneath the dense underfur of his rounded head, specialized muscles subtly contract, swiveling his small, fur-fringed ears toward the sound. He listens to the architecture of the mountain settling into place. A stray gust of wind brushes across the jagged teeth of the granite ridge, carrying a cascade of microscopic ice crystals that whisper softly against the cliff face. Down in the hollow of the alcove, these acoustic ripples arrive as gentle, rhythmic sighs. The Wolverine processes each sound effortlessly, separating the innocuous rustle of falling rime from the faint, phantom possibilities of the hunt. Yet there is no reactive surge of adrenaline, no sudden tensing of heavy shoulders. His nervous system filters the sensory input with the wisdom of senescence, recognizing the symphony of the cold for what it is, the benign, breathing pulse of the winter range. His ears twitch once more, catching the delicate chime of a distant icicle fracturing under the pre-dawn frost. Then, satisfied that the mountain remains undisturbed, The dark tufts of his ears settle, and he drifts back into a state of supreme, watchful peace. In the quiet sanctuary of the snow cave, time ceases to be measured in hours and is instead understood through the steady accumulation of seasons. This aging male carries within his frame the living history of the northern wilderness. Years of patrolling massive home ranges, crossing wind-scoured passes, and navigating deep boreal valleys have left their quiet imprints. Senescence has slowed his once relentless pace, trading youthful exploration for a profound, deliberate economy of movement. Every scar etched into his thick hide and every joint conditioned by countless sub-zero nights' whisper of endurance. His life has been defined by solitude, a solitary stewardship of the high ridges where few other warm-blooded creatures dare to linger. Yet loneliness finds no purchase here. Instead, his solitary nature has fostered a seamless integration with the winter ecology. He does not merely inhabit the glacial cirque, he is an extension of it. The neural pathways shaped by a lifetime of tracking and scavenging now operate with effortless grace, requiring no conscious thought. He remembers the contours of hidden boulder fields buried beneath 10 feet of powder, the thermal properties of sheltered overhangs, and the reliable paths of autumn migrations long since passed into memory. This vast archive of experience dictates his present tranquility. As he rests his heavy head upon his paws, drawing warmth from the insulating layers of his dense winter pelage, there is no restlessness in his spirit. The fierce, driving imperative to secure territory and outpace rivals has mellowed into a quiet acceptance of the winter's terms. He embodies a dignified stewardship of the wild, resting not with the exhaustion of defeat, but with the quiet satisfaction of a creature that has matched wits with the harshest environments on earth and earned his peaceful place among the frost and stone. Outside the protective embrace of the snow alcove, the mountain world surrenders to a pristine, sub-zero stillness. The pre-dawn air is impossibly crisp, filtered of all moisture and scent by the severe alpine frost. It is an environment where temperature drops to its absolute nadir. Yet within the compressed snow chamber, a masterclass in thermoregulation prevails. The Wolverine's body remains entirely motionless, a masterwork of biological efficiency. His dense, hollow guard hairs trap a thick layer of dead air against his skin, working in silent tandem with his slowed metabolic rate to preserve precious core heat. Every breath is measured, shallow and warm, melting a microscopic glaze of frost along the walls of his alcove before freezing instantly into harmless, glittering diamond dust. He blends so seamlessly into the undulating contours of the drift that even the sharpest-eyed predator would see only a drift of wind-carved snow. There is no tremor in his limbs, no unnecessary expenditure of energy. In this profound quietude, his auditory acuity remains his sole sentinel, registering the microscopic settling of the distant glacier as it grinds imperceptibly against the granite bedrock below. The cold is a heavy, blanket-like presence, pressing gently down upon the cirque, but it holds no threat. It is simply the natural state of the sleeping earth, completely enveloped by the deep drifts, insulated by decades of instinct and winter-hardened fur. The old warrior rests in absolute harmony with the frozen night. Above the shadowed rim of the glacial cirque, the deep velvet dome of the night sky begins to soften. An imperceptible lightening unfolds far overhead, a gentle dilution of indigo that signals the exhaustion of the darkest hour. Stars do not vanish so much as they dissolve into a pale, translucent veil, yielding to the slow, inevitable approach of dawn. The vertical granite walls of the amphitheater, shrouded in blue-gray shadow for hours, catch the very first atmospheric diffusion of light, turning the frozen rime upon their ledges a faint, spectral silver. Within his sheltered alcove, the aging Wolverine remains wrapped in his deliberate, energy-saving stillness, yet his heightened senses register the subtle shift in the surrounding atmosphere. The ambient temperature hovers at its absolute diurnal floor, holding its breath before the coming day. Down in the valley of snow and ice, the stillness deepens just before the turning of the tide. The fading darkness carries a delicate, ethereal chill, untroubled by wind or motion. It is a quiet threshold in the high mountains, where the long night yields softly to the pale promise of a new morning, touching the sleeping wilderness with the quiet grace of winter light. High above the timberline, where the jagged peaks of the northern range pierce the frozen sky, a pale winter dawn begins to unfold. The first horizontal rays of the sun wash over the high alpine summit, touching vast, untouched snowfields with a delicate wash of rose and gold. In this realm of extreme cold, where winter ecology is defined by permanence and frost, the landscape holds its breath. Tucked into a natural granite alcove, sheltered from the scouring gales, lies an old Wolverine. Gulo Gulo has weathered countless northern blizzards, its dense, frost-resistant fur coat designed to trap precious body heat against sub-zero temperatures. Through years of navigating vast, demanding territories, the animal's thick underfur and specialized guard hairs have provided flawless thermoregulation, a masterclass in mammalian survival. Now, as senescence gently slows the once formidable metabolism, the old predator rests. A faint, distant ice crack echoes across the glacial valley, followed immediately by the whisper of muffled wind sliding over the ridge. With each passing minute, the ambient sounds of the mountains soften, replaced by the hushed cadence of the high altitude. Tiny crystals of soft falling snow drift downward, catching the morning light like diamond dust before settling quietly upon the granite stones and the sleeping form below. The air is thin, crisp, and utterly still within the alcove. There is no need for movement, no territory left to patrol across the endless white expanse. In this pristine sanctuary of ice and stone, the dawn brings a deep, enveloping quiet, blanketing the summit in eternal peace. Every physical adaptation of this remarkable creature tells the story of a life carved out of ice. Over more than a decade of enduring the harshest winters on Earth, Gulo Gulo mastered a landscape where lesser animals faltered. Beneath the shimmering guard hairs, which naturally repel moisture and frost, lies an extraordinary layer of dense, trapping underfur designed to maintain core body temperature even when ambient air plunges far below zero. Its broad, snowshoe-like paws, evolved over millennia of winter ecology, once distributed the animal's weight effortlessly across bottomless drifts, allowing it to traverse deep powder with supernatural grace. Those same powerful limbs, driven by compact muscle and sheer physiological resilience, propelled the solitary nomad across hundreds of square miles of unforgiving terrain. Every scar and sinew bore witness to a high metabolic efficiency, turning the meager calories of the frozen north into enduring strength. Now, in the quiet twilight of this long journey, those specialized traits have fulfilled their ultimate purpose. The thick coat continues its silent work of thermoregulation, keeping the resting body warm against the glacial chill. The broad paws are still, tucked close to the chest, resting after a lifetime of relentless motion. There is a quiet grace in the fading of such formidable strength, a natural slowing of breath that mirrors the stillness of the surrounding peaks. In the fading light of dawn, the physical legacy of the northern predator remains etched into the fabric of the alpine wilderness, a testament to endurance, adaptation, and the timeless rhythm of the frozen earth. Within the crystalline architecture of the drift, a natural depression forms a secluded alcove, sculpted entirely by the prevailing winds and settling ice. This quiet hollow acts as a thermal sanctuary high above the tree line. Here, sheltered from the biting drafts of the ridge, the ambient temperature rises just a fraction above the surrounding gale, creating an optimal microclimate for conservation of energy. The aging Wolverine settles deeper into the powdery cushion, curling its muscular frame into a tight, efficient arc. This classic posture minimizes surface area, allowing the dense fur to maximize heat retention and safeguard core body temperature as the metabolic rate slows into a gentle, restorative rhythm. The broad tail, thick with winter hair, folds gracefully over its muzzle, acting as a natural filter and preheater for the freezing air drawn in with each breath. Outside the alcove, the high-altitude winds sweep harmlessly overhead, their low, muffled moan sounding like a distant tide. Inside, there is only stillness and the soft hush of descending snowflakes drifting down to seal the entrance in a protective white cloak. Every contour of the animal's body conforms to the contours of the snow, as if the mountain itself has accepted its longtime traveler back into its fold. The quiet space holds the warmth of a life well lived, cradled by the very elements that shaped its enduring strength. Within the sanctuary of the drift, time loses its sharp edges, measured now only by the steady, unhurried cadence of breath. In this high-altitude haven, the physiology of the aging Wolverine shifts into a profound state of biological conservation. With metabolism dialed down to its most efficient winter baseline, each inhalation draws in the crisp, sub-zero air, while the dense underfur traps a vital pocket of body heat against the chill. A profound quiet settles over the alcove, matching the vast stillness of the frozen world outside. Every slow expansion of the muscular chest syncs with the muffled cadence of the wind sweeping across the ridge above. There is a deep, harmonious resonance between the animal's resting heartbeat and the tranquil slumber of the alpine peaks. The rhythmic rise and fall of the thick fur creates a gentle whisper against the powdery snow, a soft, natural metronome keeping time with the sleeping wilderness. Far below in the valleys, the boreal forest stands in silent reverence, draped in heavy blankets of white. Up here on the summit, the air carries only the faint, crystalline echo of a distant ice crack, swallowed instantly by the endless expanse of snow. The world has grown wonderfully small, bound entirely within the warm, protective arc of the resting predator. With every breath, the boundary between the living creature and the ancient mountain blurs. The fierce spirit that once mapped thousands of miles of rugged terrain now rests in absolute harmony with the elements. There is no struggle left against the cold, only a deep, peaceful surrender to the enduring rhythm of the northern night giving way to day, held safely in the timeless embrace of the eternal snows. Out across the sweeping ridges and deep valleys, the enduring legacy of Gulo Gulo is written into the very fabric of the northern biome. This solitary predator has long served as a vital thread in the complex tapestry of winter ecology. Through countless seasonal cycles, its presence has helped maintain the delicate balance of the alpine wilderness. As both scavenger and apex traveler, it connects fragmented habitats, its vast home range a testament to the resilience required to thrive where few others dare to roam. The physical imprint left across the snowfields now fades, but the ecological footprint remains permanent. Every pathway forged through heavy drifts, every hidden cache that sustained life through leaner months, contributed to the resilience of the boreal community. Senescence arrives not as an end, but as a natural transition within the broader web of life, returning nutrients to the soil and completing an ancient circle. Nature absorbs its children with the same quiet grace with which it forms them. The freezing winds continue their eternal sculpturing of the peaks, smoothing over the drifts, erasing individual tracks while honoring the enduring spirit of the species. High above the timberline, the mountain remains a sanctuary of absolute peace. The steady, quiet breathing slows further, blending seamlessly with the hushed whispers of the drifting snow. All is still, resting deeply within the timeless heart of the north. Above the jagged timberline, the sky softens into a pale, luminous indigo as the new day finally meets the endless expanse of the high alpine summit. Out of this quiet upper atmosphere, the first gentle snowflakes begin to drift downward. Each tiny ice crystal forms with mathematical precision, descending in a slow, hypnotic dance upon the frozen rocks. The soft snowfall descends like a quiet blessing, blanketing the mountain summit in an unbroken layer of purest white. It gathers upon the edges of the sheltered alcove, feathering the dark, dense fur of the resting Wolverine. Beneath this warming crown of winter precipitation, the old predator's thick underfur and specialized guard hairs continue their final work of thermoregulation, trapping a final pocket of body heat against the sub-zero air. Its metabolic rate slows gracefully, matching the profound stillness of the surrounding wilderness. The steady, rhythmic rise and fall of the broad chest mirrors the unhurried passage of geologic time. Every heartbeat echoes the pulse of the boreal ecosystem, patient, enduring, and deeply connected to the rhythm of the seasons. There is no struggle here, only the complete acceptance of the natural cycle. As the gentle flakes continue to fall, they weave a seamless white coverlet across the alcove, smoothing the contours of the landscape and honoring a lifetime spent navigating the harshest frontiers of the north. The tracks across the high plateaus dissolve beneath the accumulating snow, returning the wilderness to its pristine, unblemished state. In this sanctuary of absolute silence, the journey of Gulo Gulo reaches its final, tranquil closure. The wind hushes to a whisper among the crags, leaving only the peaceful, unbroken sleep of the eternal snows.